Nah, man, ain't nobody in here a savant, nigga. Ain't nobody in here taking NBA league pass through the veins, nigga.
Yeah, hey, look. I was like, look, bro.
We just gotta first take that shit because them niggas on there ain't watching every game. They just got pull up some stats and they just read and make assessments off that.
Talk shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, but they don't give
Yeah.
a fuck about the Detroit Pistons.
Shit, I don't give a fuck about the Detroit Pistons.
Hell yeah. Welcome to the War in the Paint podcast. I want to first thank all my warmongers for joining us and continuing to join us, whether that's on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to follow War in the Paint on social media. We're on Instagram and the app formerly known as Twitter. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave a 5-star review with a comment. That'd be great. And that's the easiest way to increase our visibility on the platforms and to ensure that the war reaches as many podcast listeners and sports fans as possible. Before we get started, I want to give a big up to our first ever War in the Paint sponsor, Lou Schei's Pizza and Pasta in Euless, Texas. This local family-owned pizzeria and pastateria is located at 600 North Industrial Boulevard, right next to Trinity High School in Euless, Texas. Right now, for delivery or carryout, you can get 2 extra large one-topping pizzas and a 2-liter of your choice for just $29.99. That's 2 extra large one-topping pizzas and a whole ass 2-liter for just over $30, man. They also have pie by the slice, and on Mondays and Tuesdays, you can get 2 cheese slices and a drink for $5.99 all day long. And all of that is in addition to their daily lunch specials. Open 7 days a week from 11 to 10. Lou Schei's is available for delivery or carry out through the Slice app found in the App Store, or my favorite method, the prehistoric way, over the phone at 817-684-4007. That's 817-684-4007. That's Lou Schei's, Lushaj apostrophe S. Lou Schei's, Lushaj apostrophe S. Lou Schei's Pizza and Pasta in Euless, Texas. Eat good, support local businesses, and tell them you heard about them through War in the Paint. Shout out motherfucking celebrity, my boy Arson, man, for blessing us with that cold-ass theme music. The last one was good. I loved it. But this one right here, though, this made me want to shoot a motherfucking music video for it. You feel me? As always, I'm Rodney Blue, and I'm joined by my esteemed cohorts and fellow basketball enthusiasts, and we're here to bring you commentary, insight, and amateur expertise on each of the National Basketball Association's 30 teams and every one of their 82 games. Each of the show's hosts have been assigned 6 teams, 3 in the Western Conference and 3 in the East, and every Sunday of the NBA season, we get together to discuss our team's performance throughout the previous week. My esteemed cohorts and fellow basketball enthusiasts, please introduce yourselves and your teams.
Yeah, man. This is Gabe, the educator of youth, resident lover boy, and Boston Celtics superfan. So out in the East, man, my teams are the Boston Celtics, the Miami Heat, and the Toronto Raptors. Moving over to the West, I got the Grizzlies, the Suns, and the Jazz.
Excellent.
Yep, I'm Aaron, aka Teflon, resident Mavs fan, Kenny Lofton Jr. super fan, putting out for the big boys.
You feel me?
And feeling like Shaq in a Cavs jersey after this Thanksgiving week. But out west, I got the Mavs, Kings, and Thunder. And out east, I got the Cavs, Magic, and Pistons.
Fantastic.
Yo, it's Nojo. I'm the resident Lakers fan and the best hooper on the podcast. My teams on the West is the Houston Rockets, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the San Antonio Spurs. My teams on the East are the Atlanta Hawks, the New York Knicks, and the Philadelphia 76ers.
What it is, man, it's your boy Ricky Blue, and I would definitely lock up Nojo. My 3 teams on the West is Golden State, the Clippers, and Portland. And on the East, I got Milwaukee, Chicago, and the Wizards, man.
Fantastic, man. And again, I'm Rodney Blue, and I wore the number 5 in youth basketball because it was my 5 fingers on your ball every time you took a shot. Team Blue consists of, in the West, the Denver Nuggets, Minnesota Timberwolves, and New Orleans Pelicans. And in the East, the Brooklyn Nets, Charlotte Hornets, and Indiana Pacers. I don't know, man. I feel like we long overdue like a hoop session for real. Like, niggas been talking about, you know what I'm saying? Niggas been hinting at, a little game of pickup here and there, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, that's probably something we ought to invest some time in.
Well, I'm gonna let y'all know right now. I got the slowest first step. So
don't tell them all your secrets, Gabe.
I'll need a moment to get warmed up because, man, if I do it right now, I'm tearing my MCL, ACL, PCL, BET, MTV, all that.
Nigga, flat-footed jumpers only. Set shots only.
I got a court right up the street from my house, nigga. Sometimes just wake up randomly and just go get shots up, dunk on random little kids. You know what I'm saying? So I'm letting you niggas know right now I am primed and ready for combat.
This nigga wakes up with hooping shorts on. Nigga, let's go.
Hey, look, I ain't gonna lie to you. I got two moves: either throwing the Kobe's or throwing the LeBrons. It's a completely different game you're gonna get depending on what shoes I put on.
Come on, it's in the shoes.
Man, nah. They call me Jamal Crawford, so that's all I'm gonna say. Nigga, I'm putting niggas on their ass and I'm hitting shots.
Nigga, I'm the smallest big man you've ever played against. The most average size center.
Hey, we gotta talk about Jamal Crawford at some point in this podcast too, man. Because like the fact that he's sitting at home right now and he ain't somebody's personnel or somebody's vet giving his last performances is nuts to me.
Yeah, that's egregious. But they squeezing the old heads out the league, man. Like that's been the story for the last couple of years. Even you know what I'm saying, at the in Jamal Crawford's case, at the pretty much the height of their game, nigga. Like the nigga ain't really lost a step at all. The nigga can still give you 20.
He scored like 50.
Come on,
he scored 51 in his last game, bro.
In his very last game. Like I can still do this.
And it wasn't his last game by choice. It was his last game because you know what I'm saying?
Hold the nigga.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, once more, thank y'all for tapping into the War in the Paint podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to not only share our obsession with hoops with like-minded fanatics, but to give equal time and attention to some of the franchises and players who are not always fairly or equally covered by the mainstream sports media, if even at all. It's our hope that we can provide a fair amount of coverage for those underrepresented markets, create a credible access point for new and lifelong fans of the sport, and most importantly, just enjoy ourselves talking about the game we love, always learning from and growing with it. So without further ado, let's go to war, gentlemen. So first of all, it's great to be back. Great to return to fellowship with my favorite basketball junkies. Week 4, we had 2 DNPs, non-COVID illnesses, and had to forfeit that installment. But we back for week 5 of the NBA season, and we'll treat this like a dual episode, a 2-for-1. We call it a twofer. Before we jump into the 30-team rundown, we're going to foreplay a little bit in this new segment called Around the Association, where we'll discuss notable topics and news surrounding the most dramatic sports league in America. So this is our opportunity to kind of, chop it up about, just those stories, those headlines, those, non-basketball things or basketball adjacent things that, tend to, jump out on the headlines, on the timeline, and on your sports networks. So I'll start with CP3 versus Scott Foster, Draymond versus everybody, and are the Warriors turning heel? I think this is a good place to start because, it's fresh on everybody's mind. Everybody is wanting to know, what becomes of the Warriors dynasty now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we a couple years removed from their last championship. A lot has changed as far as the pieces that surround their core. And naturally niggas is getting older. You know what I'm saying? Like the dynasty, ain't looking like the same dynasty as before. And in addition to the, addition of Chris Paul, the re-signing of Draymond, the dismissal of Jordan Poole. Look at me telling the future. The dismissal of Jordan Poole and everything else is going on. It feels like the Warriors have a bigger chip on their shoulder than they ever have, and aren't looking as squeaky clean prep school boys as they have in the past. Anybody want to kind of attack this one, whether that's starting with CP3 and Scott Foster earlier this week, Draymond versus everybody a couple weeks ago? I want to jump into this.
Well, look, man, I am a proud donor of the Draymond Green Fight Club. And so I think I think honestly, this team has just gotten old. Everybody except Steph, of course. I mean, the jump shot is like the last thing to go. At this rate, this dude gonna play till you're like 45, shooting like this. But yeah, I think they're just old. And Steve Kerr's an amazing coach, but I think anybody who pays attention to sports understands that like at some point, like a voice gets old, right? And so it could just be like they're getting older. Maybe Steve Kerr's voice it doesn't resonate the same way. And two, like the West the league period is super competitive, and there isn't really like an overly dominant team. And because the Warriors have like this mystique, or this perceived mystique for all these years, like ain't nobody afraid of them because like a lot of these dudes in the league was like teenagers when they was really, really out here doing it. So
yeah,
I think nobody's afraid of them, and they're old. And outside of Steph, there's nobody on that roster who's an all-star.
Yeah, I think Klay is.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think Klay is losing it a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. I think he's in his glory days right now, if that's the word.
Yeah, man, he looked mentally checked out, man. I know, like, in the past we've talked about like,
injury, bro.
Slow start, and he's coming back from multiple injuries. I don't know. It's definitely not the same Klay. It's definitely not the same Klay, and his limitations are more glaring than ever. In the Warrior system, he's benefited from being that second option, that catch and shoot guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Steph does all the off-ball movement. Everybody's moving on that Warriors offense, and and somehow he get that shot in that pocket. And he's as good money as anybody. Shooting the three ball, but now it looks like his confidence is shot. It looks like he's hearing the naysayers and the people, questioning his prime still. And just for context, the Warriors are in the bottom half of the standings right now. They're sitting at 20th place at 8 and 9 right now. And yeah, I mean, we're talking about teams like, the Hawks and the Cavs and the Rockets, having better records currently, or a better win percentage right now than the Golden State Warriors. So, it's kind of sobering, man. And then to add to that, you have the the what seems like a never-ending episode of the emotional breakdown of Draymond Green. This nigga went from stealing off on Jordan Poole, stomping out Domantas Sabonis to throwing Rudy Gobert in a Ving Rhames headlock.
Oh my God.
Some people call it antics, some people call it gamesmanship, some people call it, a regular ass fucking Tuesday in the Chase Center. But what do you make of, just the dynamic that has been created in the character of Draymond Green, and the latest incident being him dragging Rudy Gobert 32 feet across the floor in a fucking chokehold?
Honestly, this is the NBA's fault. Like,
yeah,
he's a as a educator, right? Like, I'm a teacher. You can't let a kid get away with something 5 times and then the 6th time be like, oh, remember we talked about that.
Right.
Like, they should have suspended his ass more, like when he was over here kicking people's in the nuts every other game.
Come on,
and
man.
So like this dates back to like 2015, 2016 when they're in their heyday. And so like you can't, like, I think there's a weird saying in education where like don't smile until November, because like if you're not a hard ass up until that point, like you're not going to get any discipline. So I mean, I think Draymond Green is just a product of the NBA being soft on him because they needed the Warriors and ratings and like their whole kind of Steph versus LeBron sort of dynamic, and it did great for the league. But I mean, this is what they asked for, and now just Draymond's too old and not good enough for this to be worth it.
Right. Is he adding as much value as he's adding to the disruption? You know what I'm saying? To the imbalance.
I ain't gonna lie. He's still somewhat of a bucket, and he's at an intangible on the court that every team that, like, if you're not on his team, of course you're not gonna like him. but his teammates swear by him just because of the energy that he brings, and I don't want to lean on that like as a pardon for his what I'm saying, unsportsmanlike conduct. But at the end of the day, man, they're only gonna do what you let them, and they let like he's literally our Rasheed Wallace.
No, his productions ain't high enough for
no, they are. No,
he's not as good as Rasheed Wallace.
No, he has the most technicals, nigga.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like as far as you could justify what Rasheed did because what I'm saying, like he's a valuable component to Detroit's winning or wherever he was. But I mean,
Draymond is too.
Draymond is too. Draymond has four rings. Draymond got four of them things. So like I get that.
And arguably, they wouldn't have won any of those without him.
What I wonder is, have we exited Draymond's enforcer era and have we entered his Udonis Haslem era?
Definitely, but
hell no, we're in his Metta World Peace era.
Dirty player.
He in his
Udonis has never been dirty.
That's accurate.
It's just like, yeah, man. I mean, there's a certain it cannot be overstated how intellectually competent he is in the game of basketball. Right? You cannot overstate that. But at a certain point, your intellect for the game and your physical ability, start to stray away from each other. And he ain't running as fast as he used to, or he ain't getting up as high as he used to, or, he's still making very effective basketball plays. He's still high IQ. He's still smarter than a lot of the other niggas on the court, 9 times out of 10. But at the same time, like, now you have to accept what come with that. Because of the precedent that's been set, because of the standard that's been set, because of the lease that you gave him, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to now accept that, he's entitled to that. He feels entitled to that because he's been given that leash. He's been given that leeway. He's made that his calling card, essentially. And I ain't just talking about kicking niggas in the nuts and, dragging niggas across the court by the neck. I'm talking about shit like arguing with the refs for, 5-10 minutes, at a time. I'm talking about all the jaw jacking that he get to do that nobody else gets to do. Like, at what point does that outweigh his on-court production? You know what I mean? And yeah,
it already has.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially they chose Draymond Green over Jordan Poole, and I think on its face you would say like, yeah, right. But look, here's the thing though. But stay with me. What did we just get done saying about the Warriors, right? They're slow. They're old. There's not a lot of zip. There's nobody really moving around. And so I'm not saying that Jordan Poole is a legit number one, but as like a second, third-ish option, he was really thriving in Golden State. So I 100%. think had there had been more accountability held on Draymond, maybe they would have been able to hold on to Jordan Poole. And obviously that means they don't get Chris Paul. So, there's a give and take there. But I think
you stay young. They
need like a live body. Like Jordan,
you need to reinvent that core for Steph. You need to reinvent like what works, and like because Klay isn't as confident, because Draymond has lost a step, because Andrew Wiggins ain't panning out to be the perennial all-star that you thought he would, or the Joshua Kuminga experiment isn't panning out the way you thought it would. You know what I mean? Like you made a conscious choice to choose veterans and and I guess career stability over an uncertain future in the youth, and like now you paying the cost for it. Now Steph is clocking in 40 minutes a game, 16 17 games to the season,
and he's gonna miss some time. He's gonna get hurt. It's not if, it's when, because I mean he hasn't played more than 70 games in a while. And we know his injury history from when he was younger, so we'll see.
Hey man, I be waiting on the Legends NBA account on Twitter to drop the voiceover transcripts for the altercations on court. I be waiting on that shit like the post-credit scene in Marvel movies, man. So when that shit finally dropped with Chris Paul and Scott Foster got into it a few days ago, it was real interesting to hear and kind of contextualize a little bit more about that relationship that we're all familiar with. It's a known secret, if not even a secret at all, that Scott Foster has it in for Chris Paul. I mean, this goes back, I don't know how far back, but Chris Paul has been on several teams where Scott Foster has been deployed to to thwart his fucking championship aspirations. And now we getting a little bit more context with this latest incident, saying that, you know, Chris Paul spoke about it in the post-game conference, saying that they've had issues for years. They've had, you know, one-on-ones and one-to-many type sit-downs with all these different parties involved. And Scott Foster said or did something, you know what I'm saying, in regards to CP3's son. And so it's like, it's real smoke. It's real beef. It's not even basketball related at this point. Like, it's fuck you. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, aside from the other conversation where a referee's, you know, supposed objectivity, right, gets canceled out when they just decide to start teeing niggas up because they tired of hearing from them, or they losing an argument. You know, aside from all that, like, we know the history of Scott Foster. We know the long and complicated, you know, mythology of Chris Paul versus Scott Foster. And it's interesting and strange and extremely dramatic how the NBA just kind of let this like play out over the years. And I'm interested in what y'all think about, you know, what we learned from this latest Scott Foster CP3 episode and your thoughts on it.
I think they need to fight. I think we need to sanction them to fight. Let them get their shit off.
Yeah.
And then we
Sanction.
see.
Y'all doing
know
mid-season tournaments, nigga.
You said what?
I'm saying they need to go and sanction it with the league. They already doing these mid-season tournaments and shit. Might as well like do a for the charity NBA Cares players versus goddamn referees, nigga. Because obviously
make it a halftime. They can make it a halftime. I'm not a halftime. All-star joint.
Man, headgear and everything, bro. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, there's always been that air of, you know, pretentiousness when it comes to, you know, the referees feeling like they got more power than what they have, man. And they abuse it time and time again. And who knows how far the implications go when it comes to like just dirty calls, you know what I'm saying? And the players that got to deal with it, or these personal vendettas that we don't even know the full spectrum of, man. So yeah, I second that, man. Them niggas need to go on squad, bro. Fuck it.
As if the refs don't already hold vendettas. They fuck around, get beat up on national TV by the niggas they referee, and that shit's just gonna fucking exacerbate, nigga. The fact that
but they need to do like a post-game interview for him or something. Like, we need to be able to
transparency. That's all really fans asking for. Is like transparency, nigga. Admit when you was wrong. Let us know when they get fined, just like we know every time a player get fined. Let us know when they missed a call and what the repercussions are. Like, it's as simple as that, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck about your sleepless nights. You know what I'm saying? Like, come back after the game, 40 minutes, 45 minutes after the game, after you did your first little review, acknowledge the shit you missed, acknowledge the shit you got wrong. And like, send us fucking watch bombs and fucking Shams bombs for every time a ref get fined too. You know what I'm saying? Every time a ref fuck up too. Because like, if you supposed to exemplify, if you're supposed to represent the arbiter of the purity of the game, you know, and
why is that hidden? Why is when refs are you know, like taxed like players are and fined? Why is that hidden? How come that isn't general knowledge?
Right. My point exactly, man. It's like, you know, that should be, you know, breaking news just like anything else, bro. But, you know, I don't know, man. It's always felt like, you know, a cabal, an unholy cabal in the referees. And, you know, Scott Foster and notorious cheating ref Tim Donaghy was like super tight once upon a time, nigga. Apparently, during the time where Tim Donaghy was cheating and fixing games between October 2006 and April 2007, Scott Foster and Tim Donaghy made 134 phone calls between each other.
How do we know that?
Why do we know that?
How do we know that?
Because Tim Donaghy got subpoenaed because of his cheating, but he was the fall guy, essentially. Like, as opposed to, you know, potentially dismantle the integrity of the entire league, Tim Donaghy became the face of a ref gone bad. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and everybody else, you know what I'm saying, just kind of, you know, publicly shunned him. He got dismissed from his post. And yeah, no one is discussing 130 plus phone calls between him, and Scott Foster, who maintains his role and his seniority, you know, in the hierarchy of NBA refs.
I think also it's a PR thing, right? Because if the NBA publicly condemns referees, then their legitimacy is then questioned because now they have to figure out their hush money situation. You know what I'm saying? Or how they're gonna quell. You know what I'm saying? Like
It's easier to say it's one bad apple than to say it's all fucked up. It's all corrupt. Like these niggas are not trustworthy. You know what I'm saying? Like if you take away the trustworthiness of the refs, nigga, then the niggas might as well call their own fouls. You know what I'm saying? If the fans don't have trustworthiness in the integrity of the game, then there goes the game. There goes what makes the NBA not and one or not, you know what I'm saying, FIBA or not, you know what I'm saying, the G League or whatever the case is, because you're supposed to be employing the best of the best in both players, staff, and referees. You feel me?
When we gonna see the first AI ref? Because I
That would
believe
be
things
interesting.
like out of bounds calls should be determined by technology, not by human error.
Now they are incorporating second spectrum technology, or they had incorporated second spectrum technology, and they're incorporating another technology this season or seasons moving forward that's going to like really that's going to do exactly what you're saying, using AI to determine basket interference calls or you know out of bounds calls or you know backcourt violations, stuff like that, stuff that requires a finer eye. Like they have the technology and are employing that technology to better the game moving forward. But I think it'll always be a complement or you know a tool used by the officials as opposed to replacing them altogether.
Okay,
Yeah, man.
Not
Warriors
a
turn
good
to
look.
heel. Go ahead.
I was just saying it's not a good look, but you know.
Yeah.
what you mean? Added more technology into the game?
Oh no, not that. I mean, that's cool. I'm talking about just the whole referee situation in general, like all the points you brought up, Blue, about like him and Donnie having such a close relationship, but him still being able to have an elevated role within the referee thing. We should just have like just like there's free agents for the NBA, there should just be like referee free agents. We should be able to pick up and drop them and cut them and get them signed.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, all that to say that, yeah, this is a different era for the Warriors. You know, and I think we're experiencing that in real time. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, what it takes for the Warriors to become not only championship contenders again, but yeah, if the legacy, if the dynasty is, you know, is truly over. Up next, we got, up
Right
next.
before we go on, did any of y'all see that viral video of that pick and roll that Jordan Poole and, and Steph did, where they locked arms and did the whoop-de-woo and got Steph and Jordan open?
A little do-si-do.
Bro, that shit was beautiful, nigga. I was like, damn. So like those are like the advancements in the game that I really enjoy because it's like it's not illegal and it's just I don't know. I've never seen no shit like that before in my life. That shit really like turned me up.
And they pushed all the Jordan chips pool, all the Jordan Poole chips into Washington and bet the house on fucking Draymond Green and Joshua Kuminga. I don't know. Up next, we got the in-season tournament, also known as the basketball thing that nobody asked for, yet somehow Adam Silver and the NBA knew we needed it. I mean, you know, at this point, like if you don't understand, it's because you don't want to, right? Like, you know, we've every Tuesday and Friday of the past month have been group play games. You know, those games count towards, you know, who advances into the semifinals and into the Vegas rounds. Like, you know, the excuse for not understanding it, whether or not that don't fly anymore, but whether or not it's necessary, whether or not it's egregious, whether or not, you know, it, you know, truly amounts to an increased viewership or attention to the earlier aughts of the NBA, like, you know, that's yet to be seen. But I mean, I like the way it's playing out so far, man. And right now, if I can pull this up right quick, I have the standings for the in-season tournament. So right now in East Group A, Indiana has clinched their group. So they're at the top of their group. They're 4-0 in their group. Milwaukee, New York, and Miami, I believe, are still competing in East Group 3 for who's going to come out top on there. on that side. Orlando, Boston, and Brooklyn, I believe, are still competing about who's going to come out top on East Group C. And then in the West, the Lakers have clinched West Group A. The New Orleans Pelicans have played all of their games, and we're awaiting the results of Dallas versus Houston on Tuesday to determine who wins West Group B. And it looks like West Group C is in between the Kings and the T-Wolves. The Golden State Warriors might also have something to say about that because they play the Warriors on Tuesday on the last sort of group play day of the in-season tournament. And so, yeah, again, everyone at the top of their group will advance. Everyone who has the best record among group play will advance. So that's 6 teams for the 6 groups that we have across conferences. And then one team from both the West and the East. So 2 teams total will then be, the wild card essentially, and then have an opportunity to, advance into the semifinals or whatever it is. So the wild card in the East is looking like the New York Knicks or the Miami Heat. It looks like the Knicks might have the advantage over the Heat in that wild card. And then in the West, it looks like it's going to be in between the Houston Rockets and the Phoenix Suns for that wild card spot, and the Pelicans too, because of the point differential. Phoenix scored 1 more point, have a difference of 1 point in their wins in their group play games next to alongside the New Orleans Pelicans. So depending on how Houston and Dallas turns out on Tuesday, that will determine whether or not the Pelicans or the Rockets or Suns are in the wild card. And it gets a little hairy there, but I don't know. I feel like the NBA has done a really good job of just kind of keeping us informed about, the stakes and what have you. And, again, this is not something that I think is going to have long-term implications on obviously who wins a championship or anything like that. But it's also, I'm saying it's good water cooler talk. It's good, meaningless competition, you know what I'm saying? And so far, I mean, I fuck with the uniforms, I fuck with the courts, and yeah, and the intensity, the games, because the point differential matters in a tiebreaker situation. Like, they play into the last buzzer. Like, they're scoring points where the game is obviously won, with the attempt to have a greater point differential than a team they might be neck and neck with. So I think that adds a competitive element, and I think that allows the guys to play all 48 minutes competitively, even if it's a blowout. And so, so far, I'm enjoying, the inaugural in-season tournament group play situation. How y'all feeling about it so far?
I like it, man. I think it's cool. I think it gives an opportunity for like some teams who we know like are not going to make a deep playoff run or make the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
It gives them something to play for. I really do also like the fact that like the players get some money, because like Dame in an interview brought up a really incredible point where he was like, look, like the 500,000 it ain't really about me, but there's dudes who are like on 2-way contracts or in their first or second year who have never even seen that kind of money. So we're really playing for those guys. And so I think that's a cool incentive. And then, I think like it does give like teams that you can see that there's a different energy about the way they play. And the fucking Pacers are like running away with that shit. But we know that like when the Pacers come to the playoffs, like if they make it, they're not going to make a run. But I would still love to see them in a meaningful game in Vegas. And like, this also gives the NBA an opportunity to look at what expansion would look like moving into Vegas, because we know Seattle's going to happen. So I like it, man. It's cool. I fuck with it. It's better than I expected for sure.
Yeah, the competition level is definitely crazy, and like you said, like we have some unusual suspects, really making some noise in the preseason, in the in-season tournament. And I think that's really dope. Teflon, what you think about the in-season?
I'm liking it so far. Unlike you, I'm not a big fan of the courts.
Yeah.
I don't need to see a blood red Chicago Bull court on my screen.
All the red courts suck. I'm sorry. I know it's coming from blue, but like all the red courts are an eyesore, bro. Like it looks like a boss level and fucking 2K Rec League, nigga. I don't know.
It's just but it's fun to see. I'm more interested in seeing the extra game in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
See how competitive that game's gonna turn out. Yeah, this has been fun.
I think they have an opportunity to like kind of rethink and retool the All-Star weekend with this too. Like this is an entertainment experience, you know what I'm saying, baseline before anything else. Like, this it's not a championship, quote unquote. It is, a showcase. It is an alternative, competition within the, the general competition. So I think this gives them an opportunity to kind of rethink what that entertainment aspect looks like, especially when you flying teams out to Vegas, what I'm saying, to do it big for, however many, what, a week or so, of the semifinals or whatever in Vegas. Like, I think that's an opportunity to like really rethink, how they've approached the All-Star game in the past and the events, the festivities, the media and the associated entertainment around it. Any more thoughts on the end season?
I think they're gonna need like an actual name for it though, because in-season tournament is a little boring. I don't know what they're gonna call it, but I'd like to see it have some sort of a name. But we'll see. As long as they don't call it something corny like the Kobe Bean Cup or something like that.
The David Stern Cup, nigga.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about David Stern. He was
Adam Silver Cup.
Isn't that what they do in the WNBA? It's like the Commissioner's Cup or something.
It's the Governor's Cup. Yeah, Commissioner's, the Governor's Cup, something like that.
Just call it something. But yeah, I don't, David Stern has his own history. And that's like, if we wanted to talk about David Stern, that's a whole nother podcast.
Right. He would not be bumping this shit.
I think they're missing a lot of sponsorship dollars by not having it like a crypto.com tournament or anything like that. But yeah, I'm anxious to see the it's almost as interesting as the NIL dynamic of the college football shit, because it's like, damn, this is a opportunity for almost the fans in a way to control the incentivized playing of the tournament just by their support of it. You know what I'm saying? I just think that's really cool because it kind of it counteracts the whole overarching hand of what I'm saying, Big Brother Adam. And, so I don't know. I like it. Anytime some niggas getting money, man, I'm here for it.
No, for sure. And damn, I had a point. God damn.
Niggas getting money.
Niggas getting money, bro. Niggas getting money. And I can respect that. Sure. No, this is sort of a test season. This is sort of a turning point, sort of a marquee season for the NBA too, because they walking into that new TV deal next year. So that will determine like where are you getting all of your national televised games? How many national televised games are you getting? What deals are being inked with what companies? Are they staying with Turner and ESPN? Are they moving on to Apple TV or Amazon Prime? Like there are new TV deals being drafted up based on obviously the current success of the NBA and the numbers over, the previous TV deal, but also just the general excitement and enthusiasm that can be created, it can be manufactured about an 82 game season, moving into this new TV deal. So I think this was especially incentivized because this is going to give, like you said, Rick, those sponsorship opportunities, those broadcasting opportunities, those new media deal opportunities for something like the in-season tournament. Whereas you have, YouTube TV sponsoring or Google Chrome sponsoring the NBA finals, or you got the finals exclusively on ESPN and ABC. With the new TV deal, you have an opportunity to say, okay, Amazon Prime is the home of the NBA in-season tournament. You know what I'm saying? All the group play games and the Las Vegas semifinals and championship. Like, because we're entering a new sort of threshold of the NBA, both monetarily, popularity wise, and how it's consumed, how it's disseminated, that this sort of prototype of the next sort of structure of the NBA season or the next phase of the NBA is really hinged upon the success of these sort of experimental ideas. And so I think, like, obviously in the next couple of years, we're going to be looking at, the way we have for previous years is just more talent, more storylines, more drama, more contenders and all this, all the hype that surrounds the game just growing and getting bigger. And I think because it just continues to get bigger as opposed to plateauing where it is, you have to like take chances. You have to, shake shit up a little bit and give us an opportunity to change the product a little bit for the next generation of consumers, for the next phase of the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, this not only is a symbolic closing of a specific era of players, but I mean, even the way we consume basketball, even the way we consume the NBA, the implications of that hinge upon the success of these, these trial runs. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
Up next, we have the Zach LaVine sweepstakes. The two-time dunk contest champion saved and helped rebuild All-Star Weekend, and years later, he can't be saved from a rebuild. Where the hell is Zach LaVine going to land? Where is he landing? Miami already said no, right? Miami said, I don't know if they don't have the capital for it or the means or, whatever the case is. Miami's out from, according to latest reports. Of course, they could be bluffing because that's the Miami way, right? They'll pull their hand, would still be, making phone calls in the background. But where is it possible? Where is it most optimal that Zach LaVine lands if the Bulls are on the verge of a detonation?
I mean, to your Miami point, I think the reason why Miami isn't going to make that trade is the same reason why they didn't go after Bradley Beal. Like, I don't think that Zach LaVine is that much better than Tyler Hero. He's not 13 million.
That's crazy.
So here's the thing. Wait, I'm just talking about now.
Y'all niggas is high off that hero ball, boy.
You got to think about what his salary number is, because we're making trades. We're not talking about just talent, right? Zach LaVine is making $43 million this year, and Tyler Hero's making 30. So is he $13 million and 2 more years, or 3 more years better than? He's not. Not when you look at it in that way. Because they do the same thing. They're both ball dominant scorers who don't play defense, and so they're kind of like Tyler Hero is like Zach LaVine minus the athleticism, and so he doesn't really move the needle. But to answer your question, where could he end up? I could see him in a place like Orlando, because they need a scoring punch. They have the cap room. They have an excess of point guards.
Right.
And they got a young core that I think would be interesting to see them play some meaningful games. It would be cool to see Orlando in the playoffs. Where, I don't know. I think that's where it's going to be optimal. As far as where it's going to happen, I don't know anybody who really wants to take on his contract. His contract is terrible. In the last year, yes, it's terrible. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you good. You good. I think they should trade. They should trade your boy from Golden State, man.
Clay?
Go and trade Clay, man. Give Clay his chance to be somewhere else, man. Because I feel like Clay and Caruso. I don't know, man.
For me, I don't know, man. I'm leaning towards a small market. I'm leaning towards Orlando, Charlotte. You know what I'm saying?
You want Zach LaVine to go die somewhere, basically. You want him to go to a smaller market to go die somewhere.
Not necessarily to die, but in order for Chicago to feel like to receive what is, comparable assets in return for him, it's going to be a team that there's going to have to be a team that has draft picks. It's going to have to be a team that has the cap space for Zach LaVine. And if you're looking at, the Lakers, or if you're looking at Golden State, or if you're looking at Phoenix or any contending team, Miami, right? There's a lack of draft capital and there's a lack of cap space.
I would really like to see Zach LaVine around winners. And I don't think he's ever had that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? He's always just kind of been thrown in the mix with a lot of ragtag niggas who either can hoop or, don't really have that history of winning.
Right.
And I'd love to see him somewhere in a market like Golden State. But I just feel like if he go to a smaller market team, man, he's going to end up, of course, being the best guy there. And I don't think he benefits from being the most talented nigga on the team.
He's not going to be the best guy in Orlando. He won't be the best player in Orlando.
He could be
Who
better than him in Orlando?
Banchero.
I knew
he's
no.
He's already better than Zach LaVine. Look, I got his contract pulled up. This year he's making 40. Next year, he's making 43, then making 45. Then in 26, 27, at age 31, after all the knee injuries, he's making 48 with a player option. I mean, like his salary.
Hey, shout out to Zach and his agent, bro. That nigga set. That nigga, I didn't even know Zach. I didn't know Zach LaVine was pulling in them kind of numbers, bro.
He got that super max, or is it just a regular max?
No, that's the supermax because they changed the rules a few years ago to incentivize people staying home. So, I mean, like you're
What
having
about Atlanta?
Atlanta's in cap space hell because they're paying everybody.
Do you want Trey and Zach next to each other?
I mean, for competition purposes, for pure entertainment value, I have no dog in this fight, so I don't care if they win or lose. But you know, for pure entertainment purposes,
I want to see Zach somewhere, bro.
Say it again.
I want to see Zach win somewhere, bro.
Does Philly have the cap space?
They got the contracts to make it work, but do they want Maxey and Zach next to each other as well?
Ooh, that's
still no defense.
Maxey and LaVine would be crazy.
I feel like in the twilight of his career, Zach LaVine has the catch and shoot capabilities to not be as ball dominant as he's needed to be in the past. He can really focus on just being, a scorer and less of a facilitator. And I think a situation like Philly or Cleveland or I don't know, Sacramento, you know what I'm saying? Like, could be beneficial to his particular skill set and, and the things that they need. Now, again, like you said, he's a negative on defense. But yeah, a couple of those teams, have one or two primary scorers, and then, it just kind of, next man up after that. If Zach LaVine becomes your third option, like his eternal rival Aaron Gordon had an opportunity to do in Denver, then Aaron Gordon is the NBA champion. You know what I'm saying? And we watched him for 10 plus years be touted out as the main guy on his teams, and it wasn't until he became a third, damn near fourth option that that he got some hardware to show for it.
What do you think he look like with the Spurs?
Pop's not gonna like him.
I was just
so?
thinking that,
Pop
bro.
is not gonna like Zach LaVine.
What? Didn't he just have bro from DeJounte? Didn't they just have him last season?
He did, and DeJounte definitely ran into some bumps in the road as far as just bunkering down and buying into the system. And Pop and them felt like they did him a favor by developing him and then getting him into a situation where he would be more successful.
They did, and I feel like the system that they have in San Antonio right now, like that's where a vet needs to go to develop that championship mindset. And I don't think Zach LaVine is done. Like I think he probably still got 7 more seasons in him.
See, but you just said you want to see him go to a winner. So if he goes to San Antonio, they're knee deep in a rebuild. Like
that's another rebuild.
But he got a big man though. He got.
If we're talking about the timeline of a rebuild, like that San Antonio rebuild timeline is a lot shorter than that Detroit rebuild timeline. You know what I'm saying? Like you've got Wemby, you've got some great pieces and a lot of young players. Like that timeline, that rebuild timeline is going to turn over a lot quicker than I imagine that Detroit rebuild will turn over.
For sure. Because Detroit got to get over their decade-long, underachieving stigma. In San Antonio, they used to be in winners. So,
I hate that for Detroit. Well, I hate that for Cade in particular.
We'll get to Detroit later.
He's not that good.
I think Monty.
I'm biased.
I think Monty will do a better job as a coach. I think the front office definitely needs some tweaking, but we'll have time to talk about the poor Pistons, the piss poor Pistons in the rundown. Lastly, let's get to this. NBA nasty niggas Miles Bridges, Josh Primo, and Josh Giddey are all still employed and on team rosters. We all know what they have in common, but my question to y'all and to the dark forces behind the curtain that run this league is, nigga, where's Ja, nigga?
Wait, time out. What? Wait, there's more?
Wait, before we get into this, I just want to let you niggas know Kyrie got suspended for a link to Amazon.
Yeah.
An Amazon link. And there's whole underage sexual misconduct allegations going against Ace Ventura. I mean, Josh Giddey. And I just think, it's real weird, man. It's real peculiar, man.
It's real selective about the outrage, right?
There's more than Josh Giddey.
Bro, you got Josh Giddey, you got Josh Primo, who was formerly on the San Antonio Spurs, and he was flashing his weenie to the trainers and you know what I'm saying, assistants and shit. And then you got Miles Bridges, who was in his latest court documents was found guilty of throwing pool table balls at his baby mama's car with the kid in the car. And yeah, I mean, he joined the team sometime last week, and he's back, you know what I'm saying, back balling for the Hornets. But I mean, that I'm sure there are more. I'm sure there's a couple of
bro, what type of nigga ride around with pool table balls in the car, bro?
He was at the crib and she pulled up, and he put the balls on him like Batman.
Pull out a fucking 8-ball out his fucking utility belt. What the fuck?
No, bro. He was at the crib. She pulled up. You know what I'm saying, on some shared custody type shit, and yeah, this nigga started flinging pool balls at her at her whip.
Wow, nigga, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I must have interrupted him recording. He must have been right here.
Yo, y'all heard his post game interview voice sounds nothing like his rap voice.
Is he turning on? Is he code switching now?
It's yeah. He sounds like he's from Atlanta. He sounds like he's from Atlanta.
When he talk or when he rap?
Both.
So that mean they sound the same.
Yeah, because I mean he ain't never gave me a linguist.
Yeah, he ain't never gave me extra mail for me, please, man.
Just go look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay, we gotta tap into that. But yeah, man, the NBA is allowing a lot of nasty niggas to cook. Meanwhile, Ja Morant, you know what I'm saying, exercise his Second Amendment rights on Instagram Live. and the Grizzlies are in the shitter because of it. Like, how do we feel about, a domestic abuser, a weenie flasher, and a cradle robber, you know what I'm saying, being able to maintain their employment, you know what I'm saying, with our favorite sports league. Meanwhile, Ja Morant and Kyrie Irving, received.
It depends. It depends on what they mad at Ja about. Are they mad at him for the gun or for the alleged 17-year-old that he beat up at his house over the basketball game? So it's just like, I don't know what they really mad.
Ja was too profile to be walking the path of Steven Jackson. I think that was the biggest problem. Like, he's too high profile. He's got too many fans. He's too dynamic a player to be walking the path of Steven Jackson. And so,
how many more games is he suspended for?
At least
he's got 10 games.
Yeah. About
Man,
10
come on, bro. That's 2 more episodes of the podcast, bro. Like, fuck him.
I think the outside of, like, I get what you're saying for, like, selective outrage and how, like, it's just not equitable in terms of, like, what they're getting punished for. I think what it really boils down to is there's essentially a loophole in the rules and the code of conduct in the NBA, because, like, there's not really, like, any sort of bylaws or any sort of, like, anything written in the NBA about these types of issues, right? Like, Josh Giddey and Josh Primo, like, there's not really a precedent on what to do in that situation. Just like there's loopholes in the American justice system, there's not really laws written for certain situations. I think the NBA just doesn't really have anything in their code of conduct to, like, specifically reference stuff like this. And I think it's going to end up changing, because if what they're saying about Josh Giddey is true, which I'm pretty sure it is, I mean, the fucking evidence is pretty damning. They're going to have to do something. The fact that he's playing right now is ridiculous.
See, I don't want to bet on him. I don't want the NBA to become an extension of Twitter allegations either, right? Like, we don't want, like, because we watched it in real time. We watched the video drop, and then we watched the outrage of it, and then we saw the NBA kind of then get into their investigative bag about it. So, like, you got fans who are literally acting as law enforcement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, don't nobody care about acting like the police and doing a police job for them. And of course, we should stand against any kind of misconduct when it becomes any minors involved. But, you know, we have to be careful, because what if we all get duped in the bitch 25? You know, and
We
then
don't have, we do not have all the facts.
Nigga got
And
a
yeah,
whole jacket that we didn't put on them because the NBA has now shed light on a Twitter allegation.
yeah, and NBA Twitter is definitely one of the most like easily triggered audiences, you know what I'm saying, from the fandom to everything outside the game. So I'm 100% sure that there is an investigation happening. Rick, you are wilding out right now. There's 100% an investigation probably happening internally about what's going on. But again, like Gabe said, you know, the NBA still venerates Karl Malone, who is a known predator. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have no problem
right. Yeah.
inviting this nigga to luncheons and you know,
All-Star games and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro literally got a 13-year-old pregnant. Like, that shit is not an allegation. That is his daughter or child.
And,
I don't even know what he has.
And if we're looking at the track record of professional sports, like, professional sports don't give a fuck about women. Like, let's just like, I mean, if we gonna keep it a bean, we talking about the NBA, we talking about domestic violence across, you know, multiple sports leagues. Like, it's been pretty much confirmed that, like, nigga, that shit is water under the bridge. That shit is.
If Miles Bridges was an NFL player, he wouldn't be in the league.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
He's still being.
No, NFL is worse than the NBA.
Hey, worse
No,
than
them
the NBA.
niggas get charged and get kicked out and get blackballed.
Nah, you get
Them niggas-
kicked
them
out
ni-
if you gamble.
Yeah, you get kicked out if you gamble, but no, like niggas, like nigga, there's no video evidence of Miles Bridges. There's multiple video footage of NFL players beating the shit out their spouses, out their girlfriends, and shit like that. And yeah, nary a punishment was issued. Nary a career was ended behind that.
So we went hard on
Ray Rice.
we went hard on Miles because of a report and just somebody's word on it, or was
a
it
report
proven?
and a police report, right? Like, this nigga has to go to court, like, so those documents are public, so we know what happened. Like, it's not allegation at this point. It's really just a matter of, okay, well, what are the consequences that the law is issuing out, and what are the consequences that the NBA is issuing out? The NBA is taking a backseat to whatever it is law enforcement is, you know what I'm saying, got cooked up for them. And that could be, you know, that could be probation, nigga. That could be a slap on the wrist. That could be, you know.
I think at that point,
no
if you get caught up by the law at that point, man, I think a season suspension, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. Like, when it comes to domestic violence and underage shit, bro, like, if it's like that, if you got to deal with your actual punishment from the law, man, go on, take the season off, bro, and get your eggs, bro. You know what I'm saying? Take the season off. Fuck it.
Technically, didn't miss all of last season.
He did. He was away from the team. He was suspended from team activities last season. So, you know, and there's some confusion about as to whether the latest updates in the court documents refer to a previous incident or just more details of a previous incident or something a little bit more recent. So, I mean, you know, whatever has happened, you know, you better believe the NBA is involved and know what's going on and have made their verdict, you know, irregardless to whatever the police or the law enforcement verdict is. So, you know, time will tell, man. They put Josh Primo in rehab, you know, kicked him off the team. Then the Clippers picked him up. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's seen.
God damn, they kicked him out the team and another team picked him?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
they're like, hey, bro, y'all may not fuck with pedophiles, but we do. Like, what?
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's a league full of nasty niggas, and you know, the NBA has an opportunity to set a better precedent. But historically, just based on what we know and what we've seen, you know, you more likely to get in trouble for choking the nigga that started COVID and flashing a gun on his live than fucking underage, you know what I'm saying, teenagers and shit.
I don't fuck with that underage shit, honestly, because it come down to, nigga, you are a multi-millionaire hooper, bro. There are women throwing themselves at you, and you choose to go fuck with somebody that's not even fucking legal. It's like,
I didn't genuinely have an opinion on Josh Giddey before this, but now, like, I'm looking at this nigga face and I'm like, yeah, of course you be fucking robbing the cradle, nigga. Of course you be hanging around high schools, nigga. Look at you.
You like a high schooler.
But let me not make any unfounded allegations until the investigation is complete. Allegedly. All right, man. Great talk, fellas. We have now reached the point of our show called The Rundown. In this segment, each of the NBA's 30 teams will be given approximately 90 seconds of airtime as the corresponding host of said team discusses their wins and losses, key observations, stats, and storylines. We go in home city alphabetical order. So as always, Joe, how are your Atlanta Hawks doing?
So the past 2 weeks, the Atlanta Hawks went 3-3, going to 8-8. With a win over the Detroit Pistons, a loss to the New York Knicks, a loss to the Philadelphia 76ers, a loss to Indiana, a win over the Nets, and a win over Washington. This team is all right. Well, they defense sucks, but they can score the ball like a motherfucker. Their losses was to good teams. Right now, they're second in points per game, and they're 25th in opponents' points per game. So these niggas gonna score like a motherfucker, but they're also gonna get scored on like a motherfucker. So they I don't really know much to say. They need to get their shit together as far as defense. Like playing against whack ass teams, like the teams they beat, Detroit, Brooklyn. Brooklyn not super whack, but they're not all that. And then the Washington Wizards is trash. So the teams they beat is ass, but the teams they losing to is like legit, like decent teams. So they
are they blowout
kinda
losses? Are they at least feel like they're being competitive? Because for the last 2 weeks they're 3-3, right? They're at 500 in the last 2 weeks, and the 2 weeks we didn't pod, like they're 3-3. So they won as many as they lost. They're not playing defense. They're doing their best to outscore opponents. Are the games that they're playing against actual competitive teams that play defense? Are they are they competitive games? Are they close?
They're not just getting their ass whooped, but it's how can I put this? It's if a nigga got a weak chin, but he got hands. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly.
He got them hoes, but if you hit him, you got him. You know what I'm saying? And it's like one of those.
It's like
I do a nigga like that.
It's a glass cannon.
No, I feel that. Weak chin, man. Great hands, great speed. You know what I'm saying? Can knock you off your feet if you ain't watching, if you ain't careful. But also, nigga, like, yeah, that got 1 HP, nigga. And like, yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the top teams in the league, man, like you have to play defense. There's very few teams in the top half of the league that like don't have some identifiable defensive principles. And so it's going to be really hard to win in this league, at least win in competitive, situations, not playing no defense. Again, could be make for great and entertaining in-season tournament basketball. But as far as anything beyond that, they just running up points.
The Indiana Pacer game with Atlanta. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, nigga, 309 points total.
I thought I was gonna have it during the Mavs and Pacers, but God damn.
That's an all-star
weekend game.
How do both teams score 150 plus points in regulation? No overtime, nigga. Like in 48 minutes, 2 teams scored 150 plus points. Crazy. Gabe, the Boston Celtics, still sitting comfortably at the top of the league. How they doing?
Yeah, man. So over the last couple of weeks, Boston actually went 4-3. So they're still sitting at 12-4 overall, number 1 in the East. So a little bit of up and down, man. I think they had a loss to Orlando in the in-season tournament just a few days ago. Tatum is still playing like an MVP. He's going 27-9-4, shooting 50% from the field, 36.5 from 3. They still got balanced scoring. The defense is still looking strong. I think, every team is bound to have a up and down week. So I'm not really worried about Boston. They still look like the best team in the East. What I will say, though, is the perceived gap that I, like as a fan and maybe a lot of other people thought, like the gap between them and everyone else isn't as big as we may have anticipated.
Right.
So it's interesting. I mean, Boston, solid again, man. 4-3 for the week, 12-4 overall. I'm not really worried about it. Interesting little tidbit is apparently Jason Tatum had like a starters only meeting to begin the season where they basically all hashed out like they hashed out who's going to be in what role, and essentially they settled on Horford coming off the bench, and that has been like their buy-in for the season. So, Celtics doing Celtics things, man. Number one in the East, Eastern Conference champion. My pick to win the NBA championship.
Fantastic, man. Sitting at the top of the league at 13-4 right now. I mean, yeah, that's the model to follow if you're looking at one. Up next we have, look at that, my Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets went 2-1 in week 4 and then 1-2 in week 5. So basically split down the middle. They had some pretty big wins against the Wizards, the Magic, and the Heat, and then a loss to the Heat as well as to the 76ers and the Hawks. The Nets blew a 17-point lead against the Wizards, in their eventual win against the Wizards. And I just think I don't know, man. Like they play tight back and forth games. They played a tight back and forth game against the Magic. They won in the fourth quarter. They don't seem to really get, really get active until the fourth quarter. The loss to the Heat reveals sort of a lack of defensive pressure without Simmons and with Cam Thomas out. But they're at a very stark disadvantage when they're coming from behind. Miami ranks in the Miami ranks in the bottom half in total points per game, and they scored the most points that they scored this season versus two teams, the Wizards and the Brooklyn Nets. Claxton's 3 blocks per game is not a substitute for interior defense. And a lack of a traditional 5 or even a stretch 4 like they had in Jared Allen, hurts the Nets against modern NBA teams. They look really small out there. They look really gangly. There's not really an enforcer. There's not really somebody who's playing a traditional 5 or, securing rebounds and things like that, man. So it's really hard to gauge, and they continue to kind of just play that fence, just kind of play down the middle, man. Mikal Bridges is averaging 27 points per game on 48% shooting, 33% from 3. Spencer Dinwiddie is adding 18 points per game. Cam Johnson is adding 16 points per game and 38% three-point shooting. Lonnie Walker is adding 15 points per game off the bench. And Nick Claxton, although he just came back from injury and then just went right back down with an injury, I believe, is averaging about 13 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks. But again, I'm seeing multiple instances where, blocks do not equate defense. As a matter of fact, blocks might be a net minus in some defensive categories because of a lack of retention and possession. And so, I'm looking at, Nick Claxton and Miles Turner specifically being big shot blocking guys, but also it not translating in team or even individual defense. So I would like to see the Nets, do better than 7-8. Do better than towing that line and like really come into their own. But they have to learn how to play defense. They have to learn how to, stay competitive, early in the game and not just be racing back into the fourth quarter. And honestly, I think they need some mass. I think they lack mass in a lot of their positions, and teams take advantage of that. Up next, we got the Charlotte Hornets, who are now 5-9. Week 4, they went 0-4. Week 5, they went 2-0. Week 4, they lost to the Knicks, the Heat, the Bucks, and the Knicks again. Week 5, they had a surprise win against the Celtics, a 118-121 victory that really came down to the wire, and a competitive, hard-fought game against a team of their caliber, the Wizards, and they won that game. So they went from 0-4 in Week 4 to 2-0 in Week 5, the Hornets have been getting their ass whooped so bad they brought the domestic violence nigga back. So, he's been doing, Miles Bridges things, adding 21 points per game on 50% shooting, 8.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.5 steals. LaMelo is a solid offensive player with a 2K my player skill set. He has the potential for greatness, but he only plays defense when absolutely necessary. And I feel like that's going to hurt them long term. Like we've seen what he's capable of in one-on-one defensive situations, but he doesn't play defense until he feels like it. He plays the game so unconventionally and so blacktop style that I think the refs fucking hate him. And he do shit like say type shit and fuck in his post game interviews, and he doesn't get, because of that, he doesn't get the benefit of the call. He doesn't get the superstar call. He don't get to the line nearly as much as he should. He's basically a 6'7" Trae Young. Like, he can get to the cup, he can do whatever he wants to with the basketball in his hands, and he should be being rewarded for his creativity and for his, insistence on, making tough shots. But because I don't think he really plays the game outside of the game very well, he's not getting the respect of those calls. But again, I feel like all he got to do is open his arms and slide his feet on defense, and now he's a two-way player. But, that's going to require, some defensive discipline on his part, and even possibly, a veteran in that locker room, if they even have one outside of Gordon Hayward, who's willing to, kind of bring in the reins. I mean, this is a kid who we were introduced to, via the Ball family. You know what I'm saying? And one of the first quotes we could attribute to LaMelo Ball was, "Beat that nigga ass" on fucking SmackDown when his dad came in as a guest wrestler, nigga. So, like, we know who, 14, 15, 16-year-old LaMelo Ball is, and not much has changed outside of him being a very capable and dominant NBA player, man. Like, he is, I hate to say it, but he's basically picking up the mantle of Lonzo, and carrying the Ball family name. And he's an incredible player, but, there are so many obvious, blind spots in his game that's going to require a certain level of discipline for him to, really start to tap into his greatness. Now, in Charlotte's 2 wins, Mark Williams took advantage of undersized, non-traditional bigs and averaged 15.5 rebounds per game in those 2 games against the Celtics and the Wizards, with 5.5 offensive rebounds in that. So 15.5 rebounds per game plus 5.5 offensive rebounds. He had 3 blocks, averaged 3 blocks, and 14.5 points. So again, the scripture remains, if the Charlotte Hornets will go as Mark Williams goes. He took advantage of Kristaps Porzingis. He took advantage of a slower Al Horford. He took advantage of non-traditional bigs on the Wizards starting 5 and in the Celtics starting 5, and became an integral part of those 2 wins. So if they continue that trend like they have in the last 2 games, wins against the Celtics and wins against the Wizards, then they could potentially, see some benefit from that. LaMelo is averaging 33.5 points per game on 48% shooting, which is fucking incredible. He's 43% from 3, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and 1.5 steal per game. Like, this dude is an all-star, total 100% all-star, numerically, passes the eye test, everything except for the fact that he ain't playing the game within the game. Miles Bridges bringing in 21 points per game at 50% shooting, 8.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.5 steal. Brandon Miller, the second pick of the draft, is giving you 15 points. Second pick of the draft, giving you 15 points per game on 53% shooting and 45% from 3. Mark Williams is giving you 11 points per game on 61% shooting, 11 rebounds per game, and 2 blocks per game. And the difference makers in the worst way possible, I feel like, are PJ Washington, adding 11 points per game on 37% shooting, and fucking Gordon Hayward, bro. Gordon Hayward needs to figure out what the fuck he doing, nigga. It's either CDL time or it's like pick up your nuts and be the veteran on this team, bro, because you can't drop a 20-point game and then drop a 3-point game on 1 of 19 shooting and just expect that shit to slide, bro. I get it. You're not on a team that's like super competitive, but at the same time, like, what are you doing besides creating a net negative, in the potential of this lineup? Gordon Hayward is shooting 27% from the field goal, bro. He shouldn't even be on the NBA court at that rate, but he'll give you a flash in the pan every now and then. So the Charlotte Hornets have a lot of work to do. They're 5-9, and there's a lot of potential upside there, even with the domestic violence nigga back. And I really think that if they can come together and play more disciplined basketball, and they have an opportunity to be one of those emerging teams in the league. Up next, Rick, we got the Chicago Bulls. How the Bulls doing?
Man, hold on. My mic on?
Yeah.
Man, these hoe-ass Bulls, man. These niggas went, in the past 2 weeks, these niggas went, from the 12th to the 25th, these niggas went 2-6. So that brought them to 5-13 on the season. They're currently in a 4-game losing streak. And then up next, they got Boston, Milwaukee, and the Pelicans.
God
So
damn.
that's probably going to turn into a 7-game losing streak. 13th in the East. Hey, yeah, man, I'm team Zach LaVine. You know what I'm saying? He need to lead the scene. So, yeah, I think his 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists has to be used somewhere else. And, yeah.
Now we'll talk about the Bulls Sunday game next week, but they were beating the Nets like damn near 17-0 in the first quarter of their game today, and ended up winning that first quarter 36-19. And as we'll more than likely discuss next week, they ultimately lost that game by 9 points. But yeah, it's not looking too bright for the Bulls, and I think most people, most organizations are basically just putting in their vote for the remains they can get from the inevitable blow up. Teflon, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers up next. How are your Cleveland minivan bad built Cavaliers doing this week?
They have been fun to watch the past 2 weeks. Caught a game or two, but over the past 2 weeks they've been 4-3. Had 2 big wins over the Nuggets and the Sixers without Donovan Mitchell. DG stepped up those 2 games. But they finally got Donovan Mitchell back their last game against the Lakers. And halfway through that game, DG goes down again with the ankle injury. So injuries have been a big issue with this team, along with their offense in general. Like over the past 2 weeks, their offense has been below average, which has been an improvement because overall they're still bottom 5 in the league offensively. And that's with DG, Donovan Mitchell, Mobley, Allen. And even though they have 2 big men that start, that's all they have.
Yeah.
Tristan Thompson is their 3rd big off the bench, which explains why they're such a bad rebounding team. Because all their boards are just in the starting 5, and they got to stagger Mobley and Allen together. But yeah, this team's just been up and down. Hopefully they can get healthy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go right into the Mavs. They've been. I wrote their notes with a little bit of anger.
He's having to read through dry tear marks and shit.
So I completely forgot to put in the record.
They gotta piece the pages back together.
They went 3 they went 3-3 the past 2 weeks. They are a completely different team without Lively. Offensive rating for the past 2 weeks, they went from top 5 to 16th. So they just went from elite to average in the league,
right?
While maintaining a bottom 5 defense.
Damn.
So they went from essentially being the Pacers to being a worse version of the Pacers, because Pacers and Mavs are exactly the same team. Past 2 weeks, they shot 34% from 3, 5th worst in the league, while still taking the most shots in the same span. Fun fact between the last 2 games between the Lakers and Clippers, between the 4th quarter of the Lakers game and the beginning of the Clippers game, the Mavs went 30 minutes without a player named Luka and Kyrie scoring.
Huh. What's the story there?
Niggas weren't hitting their shots. Grant Williams turned into a shell of his Boston self. Derrick Jones Jr. still gets his open shots, but he wasn't hitting them. Josh Green is afraid to shoot at this point.
Yeah.
And Kyrie's been the most consistent player. Every game he shows up, he gets his buckets. Luka, you can know what type of game he's going to have within the first quarter, because if he's trying to needle these passes through, like during the Pelicans game, he had like 9 turnovers that game. Herb Jones was being an absolute menace. But yeah, Tim Hardaway and Dwight Powell cannot be on the floor together. When they're on the floor together, they have a defensive rating in the zero percentile.
God damn.
I didn't even know 0 was a possible number in that
right.
rating system.
Is that a true number? Is that a real integer? The 0th percentile?
Zeroth, whatever. When they're on the floor together and they contest a shot, you might as well not even be there.
Wow.
They have zero effect on jump shots.
And that's who again?
Tim Hardaway and Dwight Powell. They cannot be that's when on the floor together.
And see that goes back to a depth issue. Now, my next question to you was: do the Mavs have a depth issue? Like, yes. What is who's leading the second unit? What spark is there off the bench when Luka and Kyrie are getting rest, or are they having to constantly be staggered on the floor together just to maintain some level of offensive competence?
They're constantly staggered.
Damn.
They'll start the fourth and the third together, and they'll close the fourth together. Mm-hmm. But they stagger throughout the whole entire time. Hardaway is our punch off the bench. He's still giving us 18 a game. Offensively, he's been great this year. And defensively, he's Tim Hardaway. You're going to get what you get. It's when we don't have Lively. We revert back to last year having Powell. And Powell's essentially useless as a big man. He's 6'10", with T-Rex arms. He's a 6'10" Desmond Bane without a jump shot.
God damn.
He volleyballs rebounds that go right to the other team for an instant fast break because his wingspan is too short to grab a rebound. We lack size on the wing. 95% of the team is 6'5" and under. Even Rashawn Holmes, who's been getting more minutes since Lively's been out, he's barely 6'8" himself.
Right.
He's struggling to get boards. But yeah, they're going to have to, I know Nico Harrison said he wants to wait till the 20th game to see what the team needs. He knows he wants a big man. I'm hoping is Andre Drummond. He fits within the TPE, so they can slide him in for a second-round pick without having to send anything out. But yeah, this unless they're playing top 5 offense, they're going to be a 500 team. Because after starting 4-0, they've been 500 ever since.
My boy Tef went to work on these numbers. My goodness.
Yeah.
I'm over here. I'm sad.
It's without Luka Magic and Kyrie balling, it's a G League team, bro.
There's got to be another move in the GM's pocket, right? There's got to be something. Yeah. They've got to be piecing together something to give them some stability at the 5, something Dallas has hardly ever, if never had, right? Because I mean, like we talked about in past episodes, like you putting all your chips in on the rookie, you putting all your chips in on the 19-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like the minute he's gone and you're back to a 500 team, you're back to a play-in team.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all ain't expect nothing more from Kyrie. Why are we not giving him any? Is he the only thing is he being the superstar that we need him to be?
After his rough first 2 weeks, he's back to his normal self. Like I have no issue with how Kyrie's been playing. There's been times where I want Luka to give the ball up and let Kyrie run it.
Yeah.
But it's
and that's scoring and facilitating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Kyrie pushes the pace.
He pushes the pace. He's got great gravity. He's got a great inside-out game. And really, as a role player, all you gotta do is hit your shots.
And that's what they've been lacking the past few games. That's pretty much it on them. Anymore, we're gonna talk about this team.
We'll let you mute and get the rest of it off. All right, man. Up next, we got the Denver Nuggets, who are now sitting at 10-6 after going 1-2 in week 4 and 1-3 in week 5. Man, that includes losses to the Rockets, the Pelicans, the Cavs, the Magic, and again the Rockets, and then some, predictable wins against the Clippers and the Pistons. 5 of their total 6 losses, 5 of Denver's total 6 losses have come in the last 7 games. Murray's absence is 100% starting to show. They have championship production and discipline, but do they have 2-time champion toughness, right? Do they have, I'm watching them play, I'm like, yeah, these guys are, you know what I'm saying? Like they on point. They run all these sets. They where they supposed to be. They making the shots when they get the shots, but I do not see a intensity on anybody on the Denver Nuggets. I don't see a grit on anybody in the Denver Nuggets lineup. Great coaches are likely scouting the fuck out of Denver, right? Doing their best to take advantage of the few weaknesses that they have. Jokic is gonna get his. He's a generational talent, right? There's nothing you can do about it, but he can't do everything, and he can't play 48 minutes. He can try. He can play, 42 minutes. He can play 40 minutes, right? But like ultimately, that's an inevitable. You can't stop Joker, right? But they're taking advantages of weaknesses elsewhere. Brown, I think, has to step up and lead that second unit, man. Christian Brown does everything. He's the one spark that comes from non-Joker minutes. And honestly, I'm looking at this team and I'm watching them play. I'm like, who is playing defense? Like, who is their defensive force? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, Aaron Gordon is athletic and he's strong, and he might deter some paint points, but in reality, like, do they have someone whose calling card is defense? And most people would say, oh yeah, that's KCP. We've seen that from KCP, in various iterations of his career, as a Laker, as a Nugget. We've seen what he's capable of, on the defensive side of the ball, but I'm not seeing that now. And especially with the absence of Jamal Murray's 21, 22 points per game, it's like, it feels very one trick pony. Joker is averaging 27 points per game, 50% shooting, 14 rebounds, 10 assists, averaging the triple double, and including one steal and a block. Michael Porter Jr. is adding 18 points per game on 39% 3-point shooting. Reggie Jackson has taken up the starting point guard slot, and he's adding 13 points per game. And the numbers are great, but ultimately, when it comes down to being able to shore up some toughness, in these losses, they lost to the Rockets by 3 points. They lost to the Pelicans by 5 points. They lost to the Magic by 5 points. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got blown out by the Rockets, 86-105. Like, what is happening in Denver? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's what we expect, there's what's inevitable, and then there's everything else. And we can't defeat the inevitable. We can't stop the rain, right? Joker's gonna be Joker, and there's nothing you can do about that. Like, you got to survive with that. But if these other guys don't have the means to step it up in the absence of Jamal Murray, if these other guys don't have the means or the wherewithal or the desire to be the number two who steps up in the place of Jamal Murray, then we might see a skid. We might see a skid in the next couple of weeks of the Denver Nuggets. And a lot of otherwise non-competitive, still emerging, still unsuspecting teams are sneaking out some nasty wins against the Nuggets, man. We talking the Rockets, the Pelicans, the Cavs, and the Magic. You know what I'm saying? Like, those would be winnable games with Jamal Murray. But when you have a scrappy team that's playing harder, that is proving themselves to be tougher, or stand to lose a lot more, then we're starting to see, like, okay, yeah, like the head of the snake is impenetrable, but that the rest of that body ain't nothing but soft underbelly, and teams are taking advantage. So I'm interested to see what trajectory the Denver Nuggets take after losing 5 of the last 7 games. Up next, Teflon, we got the Detroit. Oh, go ahead, Nojo. My bad. What you got?
I was just gonna say, I think they should have kept Brown. I liked how he was kind of like one of them niggas that would kind of go out there and break their neck. You know what I mean? Like,
Brown. Oh yeah, that was a big loss, and he went and got a big payday with Indiana, and is doing pretty solid things with Indiana too. But that definitely was a loss as far as like toughness, shot making ability. Somebody who's gonna say fuck it and create their own offense type shit when shit gets stale. So yeah, no, I definitely agree. That was a big loss, and I think they trusted in their development of some of these younger guys and some of these lesser known guys. But again, with the loss of Jamal Murray, like, it's really showing that team is a 1-2 punch, and now it's just a 1 punch. Teflon, what the Pistons looking like?
Ass. Just pure Motor City ass. Good God.
Yeah, man. Talk about it.
I'm already in talent evaluation mode with them. Like, past 2 weeks they ain't won shit. They're on a 13-game losing streak.
God damn. 13?
Yeah.
13 games in a row. You know, teams should be able. We talked about refs earlier. Teams ought to be able to get demoted to the G League. We ought to be able to like swap out the Detroit Pistons for like the Santa Fe whatever the fucks.
I think there's G League teams older than this team. That's the fucked up part.
That's crazy.
But I mentioned earlier this in the chat. Over the past 40 games dating back to last year's All-Star weekend, they have won a total of 4 games.
4 games since last year's All-Star break.
Yeah. That's 40 games. They won 4 games.
Wow.
At this point, whenever they win a game, you might as well go play the lottery. It's that rare. And tomorrow the 27th is peak basketball that happened. They play against the Wizards. And if they don't beat the Wizards, let me tell you that their next few games if they don't beat the Wizards, they got Lakers, Knicks, Cavs, Pacers, Sixers twice, Bucks, Hawks, Jazz, Brooklyn Nets twice, Celtics, Raptors, and then Houston to start the new year.
That bitch getting ran through.
Right, they have a potential to
That
not
bitch
see
got the worst fucking schedule. Like, let's talk about schedule difficult. God damn.
Right. I mean, they played easier teams to start. Like they beat their 2 wins on this year is against the Hornets and Bulls. They played the Bulls twice. They played the Blazers. I think they lose tomorrow. That's the new record for most losses in a row for this franchise. And it could get worse.
Damn. Now, is this par for the course? Is this what's to be expected? Is anybody's future with the organization on the line because of the production or lack thereof coming from Detroit? I mean, Monty Williams is now the highest paid coach in professional basketball, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, they're committed in theory to development, but are these necessary growing pains, or is this something that somebody's going to have to answer for at some point?
Monty's safe. This first year, he inherited this roster.
Right.
The GM, the scouting department, they all got to go look in the mirror because drafting for this team has been ass. Like they have good players, but none of the players like actually work together. They took 3-point guards in a row, 3 years in a row. Ivy's having to come off the bench just because he doesn't fit Monty's defensive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of the only other ones that can get a bucket.
Right.
That's not Cade. And Cade likes to drive in the paint, and he drives in. All 5 defenders close in on the paint because if he kicks it out, nobody's shooting a 3. Isaiah Stewart's trying. He's probably doing the best out of everybody, but he's not hitting at a high enough clip to where he's a threat.
Right.
Yeah, so this team has just a lot of roster issues. Hopefully, they need Bojan back. I've been saying that for weeks at this point, but I don't know when he's coming back. I forgot Monte Morris even got traded to this team.
Oh, damn.
He hasn't seen the paint, and he might not come back for the next few weeks. And that's if he doesn't get traded by the time he's healthy.
Right.
So yeah, you're about to see some historically bad basketball. I think what was that Nets team back in the day that went had 9 games they won that year or some shit.
Like the first couple years of expansion or the first couple years of relocation?
It was one of those bad net teams that just didn't win shit.
Yeah.
It's like historically low wins, but we might get that for this year with the Pistons.
Well, shit, man. Detroit fans, I'm hoping there's something to look forward to. Potentially, a lottery pick that is over 6'4", 6'5". And yeah, the 2009-2010 New Jersey Nets were 12-70.
Yeah, we should start taking over-unders of they hitting that this year.
For reference. But yeah, man, I hate to not give Detroit fans listening any upside. Is there a silver lining anywhere?
If they lose tomorrow, you won't hear me talk about them for the rest of the year.
He's just going to wave one of your teams, huh?
Yeah, all you're gonna hear in the podcast is you introducing the Pistons, and it just audio cuts, and then it picks back up for the next thing. Lost footage at this point.
Oh man. All right, man. Sorry, Detroit. Your day will come. The Golden State Warriors. Rick, what are your Warriors? How are they shaping up these last couple weeks?
Like you said, man, them niggas turning heel. 8-9 on the season. They went 2-5 during, you know what I'm saying, the break. And I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to the fact that they just snapped their 7-game losing streak. And so they snapped their 7-game losing streak with a win over the Houston Rockets, barely. And then lost again to Phoenix. And then won again against San Antonio. We know what a shit show San Antonio is. So they got a couple back-to-back meetings with the Clippers I can't wait to see coming up November 30th and December 2nd. They're 5th in rebounds per game and assists per game. So, like, they're turning the middle. They're just not really getting it done, man. And I think it's just they're dealing with the ramifications of their actions, bro. I think one of the biggest disservices they did was, you know, like you said, choosing legacy over the future. Mm-hmm. And now Jordan Poole is imploding over there in Washington, man. And yeah, man. And Curry is a question mark. So I think they'll turn it over. You know, we haven't even reached the halfway mark of the season yet. So, like, I think all in all, they're 10th in the West. Yeah, and it's like, you know, they still got room for improvement, you know.
For reference, the Golden State Warriors made a name for themselves, I mean, back in Oracle, for being virtually unbeatable at home. And this year, in 9 games, they've only won 3 home games. So, you know, that's very telling of just where the, you know, just where that, you know, that supposed advantage, where that advantage once existed. You know, it's not the 6 man ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? And banking on Kuminga and Wiggins and Draymond and Clay, you know, surrounding Steph with, you know, capable basketball bits and pieces.
Get my nigga Clay up out of there. Let him salvage his legacy, man. I think he did what he did with the Splash Bros. And now, because the culture of Golden State is changing, he needs to go somewhere else, bro.
Play to San Antonio. That's my vote.
I'm here for it.
All right, man. After the Golden State Warriors, we have the Houston Rockets. No Joe, how your Dunkster knots doing in H-Town?
They did all right these past couple weeks. They went 3 for 3. They're 8-6 in the season. They had a win over the Denver Nuggets, a loss to the Clippers, a loss to the Lakers, a loss to the Warriors, a win over the Grizzlies, and a win over the Nuggets again. And this is an okay team. I actually like them. I'm starting to like them a lot. I'm not gonna lie. They right now they're first in opponents' points per game, so they really locking some shit up.
Nice.
But just like the Hawks, they're first in opponents' points per game, but they're 26 in points per game. So they locking shit up, but they can't. They're not really getting a whole lot of buckets. It's like we were just talking about the nigga who had a weak chin and had hands. This nigga's like a nigga who doesn't have hands but has a strong chin. So
he could get punched like a motherfucker.
Yeah, but he keeps coming forward.
King Meta Joe Wallace over here.
But they look good. They look really good. I think they might be a playoff team. I'm not gonna lie. Like it doesn't really seem like they have like just one like the Nuggets. You got Jokic, and then everybody around them. And Jokic kind of makes everybody look good. Right. But I don't feel like there's a team like. I feel like everybody just kind of just does what they do, and the shit works.
You know what's a very interesting stat about the Houston Rockets? They are they are number 1 in opponents' fast break points. Nobody's getting a fast break on the Houston Rockets. They only allow about 7 fast break points a game. Like they're at the top of the league of that. They're at the top of the league of defensive rating. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're in the top 3 in points in the paint, opposing points in the paint. So They playing a lot of interior defense. Like, I don't know, man. I think that's the value of, a veteran coach, a very savvy defensive minded coach, and Ime Udoka. You're starting to see that, those principles come into play. You're starting to see a lot of raw talent be shaped by discipline and, what I'm saying, and focus. And yeah, like the numbers might not 100% agree, but at the same time, like they're above 500. They've beaten some of the best teams in the league, and they on the upswing.
No, definitely. It makes me think what the Celtics would have been like if he didn't cheat on Nia Long.
Probably playing better defense. Probably, maybe even undefeated at this point. Gabe, how you feel? How you feel about that?
No comment. I'm disappointed on I'm disappointed on both fronts. I'm disappointed that we lost him. I'm disappointed that he lost her. I'm just not happy.
Nigga, everybody lost. It's a lose-lose for everybody except the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
Well, that's dope, man. I'm really glad to see I've never been like a huge Houston Rockets fan. I liked, T-Mac and Yao Ming. I liked Steve Francis and Cuttino Mobley. You know what I'm saying? Like I even back to, Hakeem the Dream, nigga, you know what I'm saying? But like being a Dallas nigga, like I've never like outwardly rooted for the Houston Rockets, but to see them put those raw materials together and like start to carve out some winning habits, especially defense first, when you got firepower like Jalen Green, when you got, Sengun, when you got, some and in the absence of Kevin Porter Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like he ain't, he's away from the team, right? He ain't played a minute this year, right?
No, I think he's gone. I think he from what I seen, he with the Thunder or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Because they waived him and somebody picked him up, I think, with the hopes to probably waive him again. But yeah, I mean, focus, discipline, defense. You know what I'm saying? Dylan fucking Brooks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that might be the thing that changes the trajectory and the storyline of the Houston Rockets, man. I kind of love to see it, honestly. All right, man. Up next, we got the Indiana Pacers, who are currently sitting at 9-6. Week 4, they went 1-1. Week 5, they went 2-2. So pretty much down the middle, 3-3, man. They lost and won 1 against the 76ers. 76ers beat them on the first meetup. They got their lick back. The second time around, week 5 came around. They lost to the Magic by 12 points or so. Won against the Hawks, and oh my God, the most points I've ever seen scored in an NBA game. These niggas scored 309 points collectively. 0 defense was played against the Hawks, but very entertaining. And if I'm not mistaken, a group play in-season game too. So I mean, even more exciting. They lost to the Raptors by 1 point, and then they ended up beating the Pistons Friday, the 24th. So, man, look at this. Just based on my research, based on the eye test, based on what I've seen and experienced and dug around and found out, man, the Pacers lead the league, obviously, in points per game. They can outscore anybody. They're making more shots than anybody else in the game right now. They also lead the league in blocks and fouls. Will lead the league in blocks and fouls during week 4 and 5. What I'm learning, like I talked about with Nick Claxton, is that blocks don't equal defense, especially when you're sending opponents to the free throw line. The Indiana Pacers are at the bottom of the league in rebounding. They have the highest opponent field goal percentage in the league. People are coming to play the Indiana Pacers and are scoring at a 52% field goal rate. They're making more than half their shots. Every team is averaging higher than half their shots against the Indiana Pacers defense. And they also lead the league in opponents' free throw attempts. Again, 30 points a game on free throws playing against the Indiana Pacers. So what that tells me is that the bigs aren't doing their job. How can you lead the league in blocks and fouls and be at the bottom of the league in rebounding and sending the opponents to the free throw line? They are competing with Washington, Atlanta, and Detroit as the worst defense in the NBA. The highest opposing points in the paint in weeks 4 and 5 at 67 points per game. Your opponents are averaging 67 points per game in the paint alone. So what the fuck is Miles Turner doing? What the fuck is Obi Toppin doing? What the fuck are any of these guys doing on defense to where you can average Miles Turner 6.5 or 3 blocks per game, where you can, but you only average 6.5 rebounds per game? Why aren't your blocks? Why isn't your defensive presence resulting in more possessions for your team? Why are you sending shots into the third row instead of getting out on the break? Instead of patting it over to your teammate and getting out on the break? Right? What is the dissonance here? Go ahead, Gabe.
No, I have your answer in 2 words. Well, really, it's one name. Rick Carlisle. No, I'm for real. Like everything that you're saying about the Pacers is the exact thing that we were saying about the Mavericks. Now, don't get me wrong. Mavericks still fucking suck on defense. But remember, their first year under Jason Kidd, they had like a top 10, top 15 defense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that, like, Rick Carlisle is now taking the role of what Mike D'Antoni. This is a D'Antoni team coached by Rick Carlisle. So, because I mean, Miles Turner, solid defender. Tyrese Halliburton can play defense. Bruce Brown can play defense. Like, and you
But
would think
why
with guys
aren't they?
like, well, because it's just not schematically like they don't get rebounds because they don't stay to get rebounds. They play to push the pace to score 150 points a game. So nobody stays back. As soon as the shot goes up, everybody's running back. They don't play for offensive rebounds. I
You
mean,
gotta
it's
have
just
one guy out there, man. You gotta have at least one guy out there who takes pride in not just individual stats, Miles Turner, but like team defense, right? Being the leader on the opposite side of the ball. Because, like, yeah, I mean, we all love high scoring games. We all love 300 plus points, you know what I'm saying, collectively, between teams that ain't really even competing for nothing. But like at the same time, if you want to be taken seriously, right? Who's going to take the rebounding responsibility? Who's going to take the defensive responsibility? Halliburton is contributing 28 points per game, 51% shooting from the field, and 51% shooting from three. He's doing what he's supposed to do, and he averaging 13 assists, a steal, and a block. Like, he's shooting over 50% from both 2 and 3 and still getting 13 assists. Like, there's so much offensive production on this team that there's enough to give away. There's enough to sacrifice for somebody to play some fucking defense or to rebound the basketball.
it starts with the coach, man. Just like in Houston, just like we just got done talking about. Houston's playing defense because it's ingrained in the coach's DNA. It's the way that he teaches. It's the way that he plays. It's his philosophy. Rick Carlisle doesn't have a philosophy of defense. You can go back to his days when he was in Indiana the first time around.
Straight up. I think that's ultimately going to be the difference maker between whether or not this is a winning team and a competitive team, or a team that just, shows up for, low stakes, high scoring games. Like, they're fun to watch. It would be so much more fun to watch if they were a winning basketball team. It would be so much more fun to watch if there was somebody who gave a damn about possessions, who gave a damn about defensive stops. Even just one person. You see what Herb Jones is capable of. You see what Jaden McDaniels is capable of. Being the one guy on the starting lineup who is tasked with guarding the best player every night. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have somebody who's willing to sacrifice shots, attempts, points per game in order to, play on the opposite side of the ball, man. And I really have grown fond of the Pacers in this season. Like, I've really grown fond of the Pacers in the era of Tyrese Halliburton. But yeah, in order to be taken seriously, in order to not simply be a league pass team that we talk about, for their amazing stats and their amazing scoring output, like, we got to see something on the other side of the ball. Like, it's really crazy. All right, up next, we got the LA Clippers. My boy Rick, how are the other team in LA doing? The soon-to-be Compton Clippers. How the LA Clippers doing?
They were 7-8 totally, the total record, but 4-3 during the break. They lost to the even worse Grizzlies, which was weird. Shooting 32% from the 3-point. But what was the odd stat that I looked into was that Russ has the second best 3-point percentage on the team.
What?
And I just feel like that's the telltale sign that y'all niggas need to do better. You know what I'm saying? If this nigga's the stat leader,
Right.
it says something for your offense as a whole, you know. But you know, they haven't went full tank mode yet, man. And that's what I'm looking to see, you know, for this week's congeal counter. I'm gonna
You'll start there.
yeah. It's first congeal mention. But yeah, I think I'm hopeful for these niggas, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Still a lot of upside, man. There's still a lot of upside. And we talked the week before last, week 3, about like fixing the Clippers, and they ended up going with that format. And I think it's still early in the experiment, so it's really hard to gauge and make an assessment on it. But you know, there's also, I think, some room to consider possibly James Harden coming off the bench as opposed to Russ. Like, you know, things were going great until, you know, we shook shit up. We decided, you know, James Harden needed to be a part of this equation. And now that he's in the starting lineup, it feels like they've downshifted. They've shifted down a gear.
I can see that. But also, I think it is with him being the system, they do have to adjust to him. And I think a lot of times, you know, we always expect players to just, you know, adjust to the system. Man, y'all picked me up. Y'all paid me. So essentially, they do have to learn how to play with him. And that's not on him to learn how to play with them. You know?
Well, let's take a poll. What y'all think? Y'all think that, you know, the James Harden system needs to be adapted by the Los Angeles Clippers, or the Los Angeles Clippers, or James Harden needs to adapt to the Los Angeles Clippers system?
Absolutely not. He needs to adapt to them because he's lost a step. He's no longer a top, I wouldn't even say top 20 one-on-one player. He's still a hell of a shooter.
Hatred for him, right? This is objective outside your personal hatred for.
Okay, we can. Yeah. Yes, like watch.
He's still top 10 one-on-one ISO player.
No way. No.
I mean, we call niggas buckets. We throw that term around very loosely here. You know what I'm saying? Somebody called Draymond Green a bucket earlier, and I think we use it.
Bro, Draymond Green can be a bucket though.
But
I'm about to write down 10 players that I think are better one-on-one players. Just give me some time.
In terms of being an actual bucket, James Harden is that. Granted, he can go cold, and when he's cold, it's very loud. Them balls ricochet real hard off the rim. But when he's on, when he's cooking, I mean, he is the isolation. I think he's the modern isolation point guard archetype. Tef, what you think?
I say defensively, this team's working. Past 2 weeks, they've had the second best defense.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, they work better with Russ. Kawhi and PG play better with Russ.
Yeah.
Harden ISOs a little too much, and Russ will drive, kick out, let them cook, play with some energy,
and direct traffic.
Yeah, Harden's is way too. They all just kind of stand and watch Harden.
Right.
And that's at his age, that's not gonna work anymore.
Yeah, man. Something got to shake, man. And I think his pace ain't what it used to be. And yeah, man. I mean, the proof is there. We can talk about the Clippers pre and post Harden at this point. And you know, pre Harden was looking a lot more promising than post Harden. So,
but what I'm saying is, like, we can say all of that, right? But at the end of the day, this is the front office's decision to bring a nigga that you knew was changing his ethos as a basketball player. So it's almost like you want him to turn on who he was 2 seasons ago, right? And nigga, you paid all that bread in current time for who he is right now. So I mean, I think the onus is on them, nigga. Like, what the fuck?
He's too far into his career. He in too deep to change who he is.
Bro, like, he's not gonna be the defensive player of the year ever. He's not. He's not.
He's not gonna be a catch and shoot guy neither.
Never. He's a nigga that you need to run the offense through. So why would you pay this nigga and you're not trying to run the offense through him? Why the fuck would you go pick up a nigga that you got to run the offense through rather than somebody who, you know what I'm saying, facilitates the niggas that you already got? Like, bro, this is a front office issue, bro.
That part I do agree with you on. They shouldn't have traded for him.
No, Joe, what are your thoughts on the Harden version of the Clippers?
I think this nigga's a cancer. I think he's a cancer to the team. I think I don't know. He probably should come off the bench, but I don't know. They got some buckets on the bench though. I feel like he'll fuck up their whole thing if he was coming off the bench with him. I feel like he's just gonna fuck up somebody's whole, like he's just gonna fuck up their whole thing. Like he playing with these niggas and it don't complement each other. They already got a lot of niggas that want the ball, so for him to come in it don't really complement the rest of the game.
Is Paul George and James Harden in the same lineup too redundant?
Yes.
No.
Paul George is a bucket.
Paul George is a bucket.
Paul George can play with
is also
anybody.
very ball dominant. Paul George will dribble the fuck out of the shot clock, and he does that fast slow game, right? That speed up, slow down. You know what I'm saying, on a dime type of game, like very similar to James Harden. It makes me wonder whether or not having him, Kawhi, and PG on the court at the same time, you know what I'm saying, is too much overlap.
Makes sense, bro. They team does not make sense, bro. And as much as I like them, they don't work together, bro. They don't. Like, it's like a nigga that go and get the coldest niggas he know to start an AAU team and get mad that them niggas is 0-15. Like, bro, these niggas don't play well together. Like, some of these niggas don't play well with others. A lot of these niggas have zero to any interaction with each other. Like, they
you stay slugging Kawhi.
Yeah, I got a lot to do. Kawhi need to be on a team by himself. Does not play well with others.
Kawhi and a bunch of NPCs, nigga.
Look, even the championship he won, who he had?
Fat ass Kyle Lowry.
Come on, bro. That nigga don't need other nigga. Actually, he hates superstar baller. He's the anti-superstar. So you gonna put a nigga like James Harden next to fucking Kawhi and expect it to work in your favor, nigga? Are you fucking congeal? You thought it was gonna congeal? Nigga, are you drunk?
Come on, Teflon, what was you about to say?
I was like, PG's game is the only one out of the three that he can play off ball.
Yeah.
Kawhi can't really play off ball. He likes to ISO, get his shot, get his mid-range bucket. And Harden can't play off ball. So PG and Harden can fit on the floor because PG's willing to be the take a step back. Let me adjust my game to how they play.
But Kawhi and Harden is net minus.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like PG the best scorer on the team.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So I don't know. I feel like if the ball in James Harden's hands, it's gonna be kind of hard for him to get his shit off. Like, if they need him to get his shit off, I feel like he should be the first option to get his shit off. I don't think it's like that if he on the court with him.
It's literally hit or miss with James Harden. Either he on or he off. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I don't know if that provides a level of stability, you know what I'm saying, like, for a contending team. Like, I feel like, I don't know, bro. Like, niggas got to be unafraid to commit to the bit or to shake shit up. Either you committing to the bit, you're going to take the bumps and bruises in the road because you truly believe that this is the right components of chemicals and compounds to make this shit work, or you be willing to admit fault, try something else, you know what I'm saying, and be in a you know a mode of experimentation. You know what I'm saying? Like, because, like, yeah, right now what we seeing ain't working. However, it has been, you know, 5 or 6 games of this, so, you know, there's not a huge sample size to really take from it. But what the eye test is saying is he don't bring enough energy, he don't bring enough ball movement. You know what I'm saying? He don't bring enough off ball movement. You know, and yeah, he occupies way too much of the shot clock with both Kawhi and Paul George on the floor. You know, you need somebody with pace You need somebody who can make quick decisions. You need somebody the defense is going to collapse on, even if he ain't, really the shooting threat he used to be, to, make better decisions with the ball. And I think that's Russ, man. I think that's Russ. I think James, I think they ought to consider, bringing James off the bench, man. And I know we go back and forth on this, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, either you commit to it or you try something else. But right now that this is the hand you paid for. You feel me?
Team's also just really small.
Yeah.
Like,
And they just got Daniel Tice, right? Like they
Yeah.
Zubac is losing minutes because they needed a more mobile center. And so they got Daniel Tice who's eating up a lot of those minutes now and taking the Mason Plumlee role. And because he's a little bit more mobile and a little bit more versatile and a little bit more switchable than Zubac, Daniel Tice, 6'6", 6'7" center, you know what I'm saying, is eating up a lot of those 5 minutes.
Hey, I fuck with Tice too. Tice be doing his thing out there.
Tice does what he's supposed to do. He go out there and he do his job. He's what Gabe would call a serviceable big man.
I would call him a big man. Yes, serviceable. Sorry.
There you go. All right, no Joe, how the Lakers doing on the other side of crypto?
These niggas doing all right, man. I think they finally starting to get their shit together. We 6-2 the past couple weeks, 10-7 in the season. It was a win over the Trailblazers, a win over the Grizzlies, a loss to the Sacramento Kings, a win over the Blazers again, another win over the Rockets, a win over Utah, in a close game loss to the Mavericks, and a win over Cleveland. They had a pretty busy ass schedule, I ain't gonna lie. And yeah, it was
a busy schedule, but it seems like there's more winnable games than losing games in that and what you just rattled off.
Yeah, no, definitely. They definitely beat who they should have beat. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't know. I just felt like it was they starting to look better. As far as defensively, Cam Reddish then stepped up defensively, and he been from what I heard. I think they saying he's since November started, he got like 30 steals or some shit like that.
Yeah,
like the niggas locking some shit up. And yeah, all in all, I think it was just a great week for a really inconsistent team.
No, right on, man. As much as we might hate to admit it, the NBA is a better place when the Lakers are playing good basketball. Like, regardless of how you feel about the organization or the players on that organization, man, like when the Lakers are being competitive, it just makes the NBA that much more fun to watch because they get that much attention. And, it's hard to see, some of the greatest assembling of NBA talent not be able to figure it out. Yeah. And, it's been the AD Bron show, since the transaction happened. And part of me feels like, I don't know, man, like, anybody else is disposable at this point. Like the Lakers are fuck around and liable to shake shit up all over again, by this trade deadline. They might shoot for a Levine or they might shoot for a DeRozan or whatever disgruntled superstar, you know what I'm saying, is the flavor of the month by trade deadline, man. I could definitely see that happening, especially when you look at, the inconsistency or lack of production from Taurean Prince or, how long it's taken Rui Hachimura to really get in the rhythm or, like Austin Reeves really not being the legitimate third option, you know what I'm saying, that you need, you know what I'm saying?
I think they kind of suck in that area. Like for the past couple of years, it's kind of been picking up new niggas and then just getting rid of new niggas.
Right.
And it's always been like it's always been mid though. Like it's all the people they would pick up be mid or they'll be like old than a bitch. Like they picked up Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony. What the fuck was that? It's just I don't know who's making these decisions, but they need to fire this nigga, whoever it is.
Shit, that's Le GM and Jeannie Buss.
You're right. Hey. They can't fire him.
The Austin Reeves insanity run is starting to come back down to earth, which is
starting to fade a little bit, huh?
Yeah, he's not him.
That Christian Wood revenge game though. That was nice.
You'll get one. You get one of those every once in a blue moon.
Sweet. Good 2 points off the bench.
Love to see it. Love to see it. But yeah, they'll. I feel like if something don't give, if Braun is having a, you know what I'm saying, clock in overtime at 40 years old, you know what I'm saying, for 60 more games, for 30, 35 more games, like I think like we could definitely see them being super active by the trade deadline and looking to, you know, move some of those pieces and, you know, and bring in, you know, a more formidable talent, man, because you need a better supporting cast, bro. And there's no reason that the Lakers should be LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and a bunch of C-listers.
Yeah, that's trash. But do you remember when it was him? They had the nasty ass nigga Dwight Howard. That was a good like.
It's a great one. You had Alex Caruso.
Yeah, that was.
You had KCP. You know what I'm saying? Who else was on that bubble team? It should have stayed together. They should have did what they could to keep that core. Kyle Kuzma, you know what I'm saying? Like, these weren't great players, but they took that same formula of finding some random LA Fitness niggas committed to their roles. You know what I'm saying? A nigga like Alex Caruso, who's going to exert all effort on defense. A nigga like KCP, who's going to exert 75% of his effort on defense. And then, I mean, the literal definition of a 3-and-D type of cat. You know what I'm saying? They're going to take Kyle Kuzma, who has zero direction on his own, but you put a LeBron-sized battery in his back, and all of a sudden he can do everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, that team, I'm trying to think, they had Dwight Howard. Who did they have? Who's the other?
They had Rondo.
Yeah, Rondo on that team. Yeah, bro. Like, yeah, there were some excellent pieces on that team, and they could have maintained the LeBron, AD, and friends type of lineup, type of roster construction, and still, you know what I'm saying, and still been competitive. You know what I'm saying? Like, they should have never gave up on Alex Caruso. They should have never gave up on KCP. But, you know, like the Lakers have done the last few seasons since Bron been there, it's just like a revolving door, a rotating cast of, you know, who's going to support their superstars.
Yeah.
All right, up next we got the Memphis Grizzlies. Gabe, how's the sad story of Memphis Grizzlies going?
Look, the little pause and sigh that you just took is exactly what I think about them. I feel bad for them though. Like, to be honest, I know like the last couple of weeks we've been really laughing at their expense, but they went 2-4 this week, so better than they had been, because now they're 3-12. So they had 2 of their 3 wins over the last couple of weeks. But man, to be fair, the reason why I'm sad for this team, bro, they got 5 players scheduled to miss at least 2 weeks plus, and that's excluding the Ja suspension. They are missing so many players that they were given something called a hardship exception. They got 2 of them. I didn't even know that shit existed. Basically, it's like it's like a hardship license. Like, you're so bad, like you're in such need that we're going to give you contracts so you can sign people.
A stimulus package.
But yeah, they got like $6 million because Steven Adams missed a whole year. Like, that's how bad it is for them. So they're shit. But they're also shit because they don't have – they're literally fielding a G League team. You know, Desmond Bane is still doing Desmond Bane things. Triple J can't average more than 6 rebounds for some reason. But, yeah, man, I don't want to spend too much time on this team. They're 2-4, 3-12. The only bright spot is they've got 10 games until – well, 9 if they're playing tonight. But they've got 10 games until Ja comes back. And that's – by that point – I mean, they're 3-12 right now. 10 games more, I can't imagine they're going to be more than 5 or 6 wins. So it's tough sledding for Memphis. So you know, they're going to be tanking for sure. They're going to get a high draft pick. That's about all they can hope for this year.
0 perimeter defense for the Memphis Grizzlies. They are at the bottom of the league in opponent 3-point percentage. They are allowing 41% shooting from 3 points. So they have 0 perimeter defense. All of their defensive emphasis is interior with Triple J and, you know, and the paint clogging and the basket deterrence that he provides. But yeah, they consistently rank in the bottom of the league in in opposing offenses. Free throws made, 3-point percentage, field goal percentage for the opposing teams. Like they're not offering much on the perimeter defensive side of the ball. And if I'm not mistaken, they're pretty low on the opponent's points per game too. They're about middle of the pack or closer to the bottom quarter of the league and opponent points allowed per game. So tough break for the Grizzlies. It's a story we've been following, but has pretty much remained consistent since the beginning, right? The absence of John Morant, the deconstruction of their roster, the season-ending injuries to, some of their, critical role players. Like it's hurting them. Like it's very clearly hurting them. It's not a lack of talent. It's it's a lack of tools. It's a lack of pieces.
Yeah, I want to also. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You good?
Oh, I was just gonna say I wanted to point out that Desmond Bane has 2 DJ Paul arms.
DJ Paul. Yo,
he looks like the T-Rex off of Toy Story.
Ass nigga, man.
He T-Rex off Toy Story. What is his name?
Rex?
I don't even know. Yeah, Rex. He Rex. Yeah, man. But shit. Yeah, sorry, Memphis, if you're out there. Look, so I'm gonna move right into the Miami Heat. This team is super surprising, man. So they went 5-3 over the last couple of weeks. In that time, they had amassed between the week previous and moving into this week, they had a 7-game win streak at one point. So that puts them at 10-7 overall. They're middle of the pack. They had a soft-ish schedule during that win streak. However, like you still got to go out there and play the game. You still got to go out there and win. The black eye that they got, man, they had a 21 point lead blown against the Knicks on the 24th. Bam is out here making his case for All NBA, averaging 23-10, 4 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1 block a game. He's a lot more aggressive. Jimmy seems to be back on the upswing. He's now averaging 20 points. He had 3 games in a row where he had 32, 36, and 25 points against Charlotte, Brooklyn, and Chicago, respectively. So the team's good, man. We'll see what happens. They still got fat-ass Kyle Lowry as their point guard. And so we'll take it. But, they're fighting. They're well coached. So I expect Miami to be this kind of slightly above 500 team until they get an influx of talent or make a trade, or who knows, maybe they end up with Zach LaVine.
Would not be surprising. And also, typical Miami Heat fashion, never anything to write home about during the regular season, but post All-Star break going into the postseason, virtually unstoppable. So we'll see how that pans out. It's good to see them, kind of on the uptick. I think some critical injuries, have led to the sort of mediocre start. I think Duncan Robinson was starting to hit a nice little stride before he got sidelined. And Jimmy has sat out a couple games, whether that's, due to, rest days or, back-to-backs or nagging injuries, whatever the case is, whatever the excuse they give in the league in order to avoid being fined. I think we'll begin to see the real Miami Heat closer to post All-Star break. Up next, we got the Milwaukee Bucks. Rick, how is Freak Time and Cream City acting?
Hey, man, my boys third in the East. You know what I'm saying? They went 6-1 during the 2-week break, to advance to 12-5.
Giannis has been on a heater.
Is averaging 29.95 points a game.
That means that nigga, that's the middle. That's the average. That's on the
getting
low
37, 42, 44. For
yeah,
sure.
That's scary hours.
Yeah, and so outside of that, Brook Lopez is definitely killing it, getting 3 blocks a game. I'm still not convinced that they are a shooting team. although they are at 39% from 3-point field. They're shooting good as a team, 51.6 field goal from the field. They third in points per game at 120. So, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man. Hey, bro, I'm fucking with them. You know, as soon as I feel like Giannis is getting his comfortability back and not realizing that he has to, you know, be a second player to Damian. So, yeah, man, I'm excited for Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying?
Right on, man. Like to see that it's coming together. I like to see that, you know, they're finding their rhythm, new coach, you know, new additional centerpiece in Dame. Like, you know, it wasn't designed to succeed from the very beginning. Like if you thought that would succeed from the very beginning with zero practice and zero, ramp up, like you're not too comfortable, not too familiar with this game. So it's good to see that, you know, that it's starting to click and that Giannis is back in MVP form. And soon enough we'll begin to see, you know, Dame continuing to carve out his role and his place, you know, in that system. So I like to see that. Up next, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves. My Minnesota Timberwolves, who are currently now at 11-4. They are the superstar killers. They are the superstar team killers, boy. I'm telling you. Week 4, they went 3-1. Week 5, they went 2-1 for a total of 5-2. They beat the Warriors twice in a row. Got Draymond so heated and out of sorts that he ended up choking Rudy Gobert halfway across the fucking halfway across the court. They lost to the Suns on the back-to-back. It's pretty sizable loss, about 18-point loss. But again, I was on the ass end of a back-to-back that came with the drama that ensued at Chase Arena. They then beat the Pelicans by 1 point. Again, they probably should not have won, honestly. Speaking as both the objective basketball fan and a Pelicans fan, Pelicans should have definitely came out with that win, but came down to the last possession, and the Timberwolves were the victors for that one. They beat the Knicks and the 76ers and then lost to the Kings on their last game. So Minnesota has been dominant, simply, both sides of the ball. Offensively gifted, defensively principled. They're top 3 in blocks and top 11 in steals, right? But despite being a top 3 defense, the Timberwolves are allowing the 3rd most offensive rebounds in the past 2 weeks and the 2nd most opposing second chance points at 17 points per game. My question suddenly becomes, again, great defense, great offense, but where the fuck is Rudy Gobert on the defensive rebounds? Are you averaging 10 rebounds a game? But if the opponent is averaging or you're allowing the 3rd most offensive rebounds, you're allowing the 2nd most second chance points, then what's going on? What's missing from that interior, right? And I can probably assume that it's Cat's big ass not wanting to be a 4, a true 4, not wanting to be a paint player, and leaving it up to Rudy Gobert to shoulder the rebounding responsibility. But it begs the question: who affects winning more, Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert? Right, because we have 25 points per game on 42% shooting, 35% from 3, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals from Ant Edwards. Superstar, all-star, in the making. He's arrived. He's here. He's next. He's leading this team into whatever future is in store for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Karl Anthony Towns adds 25 points per game, right? 57% shooting, 52% from 3, 9 rebounds a game, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Rudy Gobert adds 12 points per game, 62% from the field, 10 rebounds and 3 blocks, though. Naz Reid off the bench. It's you don't have to worry about necessarily losing a big man in one of those, because you do have Naz Reid, who is a very capable 6-man, a very capable big man, bringing you 10 points a game off the bench at 46% shooting, 35% from 3, 3 rebounds, likely because he's in there with Gobert, and 1 steal and a block. And so my question specifically for y'all, just, you know, being a fan of the game and knowing that, you know, this separation, this divorce is inevitable for the Minnesota Timberwolves, whose absence, who being shipped out is more beneficial to what the Timberwolves already have going on? Whose absence does not compromise their dominance on offense and defense? Is it Cat or is it Gobert?
Man, get Cat bitch ass up out of there, and then get Gobert out there after that, nigga. Fuck you talking about? Both of them niggas.
So you lose what, 37 points per game by getting rid of all of them, right? That's 19 rebounds, 4 blocks. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously they're gonna have to build around somebody. They put all their chips in for Gobert. So more than likely, the obvious answer is okay, Gobert is staying, and they shopping Cat for more pieces. But I mean, in actuality,
Cat is not a dog, bro.
no, I agree.
It's-
His name is Cat, nigga.
That nigga.
That
Opposite of a dog.
yeah, meow.
He got that
bro.
cat in him.
So I think I think it could be either, depending on the way you look at it. I agree. If I'm catching what you're putting down? Like, I think Gobert has more of an impact on winning because he's that defensive anchor, and then he also, because he doesn't demand the ball, he doesn't score as much. He allows more space for everybody else to then get their shot off. Right, not physical space, but conceptually, he allows everybody else to be able to play more of a more effective offensive role. However, Gobert is also the more valuable trade piece because Cat, like, bro, this dude is gonna make stupid fucking money. He's gonna make something like upwards of $50 million, and so there's nobody wants to take that. And so if they do manage to get him off somewhere, they're not gonna get like 2, 3, 4 first-round picks. They might get a first-round pick and a swap. And
So the money is guaranteed. Wherever he lands, they got to pay that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I can take a couple seconds to look it up, but yeah, dude is making like upwards of 50 million in the next couple years. So like, Cat conceivably could be the better player offensively, and in a perfect world, he would net more in a trade than Gobert would. But right now, Gobert is just a better player in the sense of like,
In the chemistry of what the Timberwolves are building, right?
right, and he fits more teams. He fits more of what teams need. A lot of teams don't need a stretch 5 that scores 25 points a game, doesn't rebound the ball, and doesn't play defense.
Right.
So,
And my question is like, all right, okay, so what if nobody decides they need a Karl Anthony Towns? What if
then they ship them out for whatever they can get, which is going to be probably a first round pick, a swap, and then a bunch of salary fillers, like role players. You said what?
The Mavs want them?
Fuck, they better not, because we already fucking suck on defense. We already suck on defense. No fucking way. I mean, him and Luka in a pick and roll might be nice to watch, but like him, Luka, Kyrie, plus, yeah, no, please.
Hey, send bro
God,
to Detroit,
please.
Man. Send bro
Yeah,
to Detroit.
please.
Come
Yeah,
on,
send him to
some of them
Detroit. He
guards.
scored 35 again.
I think it's in Charlotte, but his last year, his contract, he's making almost $65 million.
Like, who wants to pay that for somebody who's not giving you defense and not giving you rebounds? You know what I'm saying? Who cry and complain the whole game, who think he a bigger big man shooter than Dirk. Like, who lives in this delusion of grandeur, this delusion of greatness, you know what I'm saying, and don't want to put the work in, but you know what I'm saying, will lower his voice a couple octaves on post-game interviews so niggas don't make fun of him on Twitter the next day. Like, who's asking? Who's the buyer? Who's the market on this type of player? I've seen New York in the mix. Everybody got this weird ass wet dream about New York landing a big superstar because that's a top 2 media market in the United States, and they want and if basketball is good in New York, then that's good for basketball according to them. But I don't know. Even that feels like a compromise of what they building.
No, nobody who wants to win right now is going to trade for Cat. It's got to be a young team who is in the middle of a rebuild, who's got a shitload of cap space, i.e., Detroit, San Antonio, Charlotte, potentially Chicago at some point. Like,
but then does that make the Timberwolves less offensively gifted in his absence? Are you able to amass enough assets from your trade partner in order to compensate for the 25 points per game that you're losing and coming up off of them?
I don't think they have the point that I'm making is I don't think they have to compensate by via what they get back in return. Because if you clear Cat and he's go, yeah, sure, like from a numbers perspective, you lose 25 points a game, but you got to think Ant goes from averaging 25 to probably averaging 30.
Right up.
Jaden McDaniels probably ups his scoring average somewhere
Right
around
up.
15 or 16, right?
Yeah.
So like everybody else then just gets more touches and more shots. And
Yeah.
so they get to develop that. Naz Reid gets to step in to maybe he becomes like the 6-man option, right? And maybe he goes to averaging 16 to 18 off the bench. So it really just, it's not that they need those pieces to come back and score. They just need the room for the guy
They
that
need
they
to
got to
redistribute their
continue to play.
resources.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
Yeah, because aren't they going to be in the second apron starting next year? Which
Yeah, they're going to have to make a new apron for their asses.
like they won't be able to
team with
sign
no
anybody.
chips. For a team with no chips in a small market, y'all running out of money. Y'all running out of room to pay niggas. You know what I'm saying? And it was behind getting Rudy Gobert and retaining Karl Anthony Towns and yeah, man, I don't know. Like, yeah, obviously something is going to shake. Obviously something has to happen because the money just ain't there. Ain't no money button in Minnesota to make them have the financial bandwidth to keep both Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. So yeah, I imagine that, like you said, best case scenario, the distribution sort of evens out a little bit more. The usage sort of, you see an uptick in usage for Ant Edwards, you know what I'm saying, who's already primed to take, 5-6 more shots a game. Jaden McDaniels, allows himself to develop into a true two-way player, and yeah, like everyone else stepping up in the absence. 25 points per game is a huge loss, but when you have an Anthony Edwards, when you have a Rudy Gobert, when you have, a Jaden McDaniels and a Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and guys like that who are, just looking to increase their win share, then I think that, it don't have to necessarily be a net loss. Even if it don't come with, a comparable package in players and active players and roster pieces. All right, man. Up next, we have my New Orleans Pelicans, who are now 9-8, right down the middle of the pack, man. Week 4, they went 2-2. Week 5, they went 3-1, so a total of 5-3. A loss to the Mavs on their first meet, and then on the second meet for the in-season tournament game, they beat them. They beat the Denver Nuggets by 5 points, lost to the Timberwolves by that 1 point I talked about in the Timberwolves segment. They beat the Kings twice. Then went on to beat the Clippers, and then most recently lost to the Utah Jazz. I almost called them motherfuckers the New Orleans Jazz, bro. But that's what it feels like. Shit, they own our shit, nigga. Like they really the thorn in our side type shit. Like, I don't know what the kryptonite is. I don't know if it's a emotional thing. I don't know if it's, what I'm saying, the basketball guys doing what they doing, but yeah, we can't seem to get over the hump with the Jazz. But regardless, some of the things that were observed this week, in the last 2 weeks over with the New Orleans Pelicans, man, we lost CJ McCollum. He had a collapsed right lung, and so he is currently out, and he just adds to the pieces that we're missing, or regularly miss, whether it's due to rest or injury. With the New Orleans Pelicans, he joins Trey Murphy, on the mend. And recently, Herb Jones returned to the lineup after, suffering a couple games injuries. And man, as soon as Herb Jones returned to the lineup, the Pelicans looked like a team motivated to win. His defensive attentiveness, his passion for the defensive side of the ball, man, like, it cannot be overstated. Like, he is a game changer on the defensive side of the ball, and he's becoming more and more comfortable and competent on the offensive side of the ball, taking those shots, being confident in those shots, watching those shots go down, cutting to the basket, getting easy lays, not deferring when it's clearly his opportunity to score. Like, Herb Jones, low key, might be the heart of this team. Whereas we were looking at, Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson to be that. Like, Herb Jones is actually that guy. There's still rhythm and distribution hiccups with the Pelicans, which can be attributed to a lack of a true point guard and decision maker in CJ's absence. At their best so far, Zion and BI can be a 50, 60-point duo. Like we saw it happen. And with the addition of Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels, Jonas Valanciunas, Jordan Hawkins, who's leading the all rookies in 3 points made, Najee Marshall, and Jose Alvarado, we have scoring and defense in those additional pieces surrounding us superstars while still awaiting the return of CJ McCollum and Trey Murphy III. Now, what I saw in this last week is that ball movement is key. A lot of times early in the season, even parts of last year, we saw, basically guys taking turn being the point guard, right? We saw CJ McCollum trying to play point guard. We saw the offense ran through Brandon Ingram. We saw the point Zion experiment. We saw, pretty much the offense ran through those guys, asking them to be facilitators, initiate the offense, hit guys in, the spots they need to be effective scorers and, and make movement off the ball. Ball movement is going to be key for this team to win. In the last 2 weeks, right? The weeks we missed, the Pelicans are top 10 in total assists, top 4 in assist percentage, right? So the amount of successful field goals that come from an assist, they're top 4. They're top 5 and 6 in all assisted field goals made percentage and top 10 offensive rating. That's just in these last 2 weeks. They're also top 5 in steals, total steals, with defense being a principle on this team. So it's really just a matter of the identity. And I think that's something that Pelicans fans, I've felt and talked about and discussed, at length, is the need for a sort of a cohesive team identity, right? Do you play defense, all 4 quarters, right? Are you finding the easy shot? Or are you putting the ball in the hands of your superstars and asking them to just make something out of nothing? And when this team can pass the ball, they can move the ball around. Brandon Ingram don't have to take, more than 2 or 3 dribbles to get to his spot. Screens are being set off ball for shooters like Jordan Hawkins, CJ McCollum, and Trey Murphy III. When, people like Herb Jones and Dyson Daniels are cutting to the basket and, making life easier for the superstars who are, seeing double and triple teams most of the times, when you've got big men who are not only providing a defensive presence in the paint and a rebounding presence on the boards, but also doing the things that don't get noticed on the stat sheet, like setting screens for Zion double teams off ball and getting him open, shedding one defender so he can get to the cup with relative ease, get the and one, get the free throw. Like when that stuff is happening, when those gears are turning, when all components of that grandfather clock, of that pocket watch is in rhythm, is in motion, this team can't be stopped, man. And I say that as a fan, and I say that as a fan of the Pelicans and a fan of basketball, bro. BI is averaging 26 points per game on 52% shooting 39% from 3, and adding 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. Zion is averaging 24 points a game. Nigga, that's 50 points right there, just from your top 2 superstars. He's averaging 24 points per game on 60% shooting, 4.5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. Jonas Valanciunas, 14 points per game, 58% shooting, 9 rebounds, 3.5 assists, a steal and a block and a half. Jordan Hawkins, probably one of the standout rookies selections in this year's draft, who doesn't have that sort of marquee name, who don't have that marquee hype following him, right? 14 points per game, 41% shooting, 36% from 3, 12th in the NBA of all players, not just rookies, 12th in the entire NBA in 3 points made, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. Herb Jones, 13 points per game, 55% from the field, 43% from 3, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.5 block, 5th in the league in steals at 2.3 steals per game. And same thing for Dyson Daniels, 9 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 4th in steals, in total steals of all active players. We have the number 4 player and the number 5 player in steals of all players in the NBA. Now, the offense is there. The firepower is there. The capability is there. You got 2 guys who can guarantee give you 50 points a game. And then you fill up the lineup with shooters, people who love to shoot the ball, people who can rip that motherfucker, shoot the leather off that bitch. And then guys who love defense, guys who love taking the ball away from niggas, who love blocking shots, who love disrupting passes and other opposing offenses. Like, this is a team that is built to compete. And if they stay consistent and if they stay in rhythm with each other and they keep that motherfucking ball movement, if the majority of the team can be healthy at a reasonable stretch, for a reasonable stretch, New Orleans Pelicans ain't shit to play with. I'm gonna leave it at that. No, Joe, we got the Knicks up next. What you got?
Yeah, so the Knicks went 4-2 these past couple weeks, giving them 9-5 for the season. With a win over the Hornets, a loss to the Boston Celtics, a win over the Hawks, a win over the Hornets, a loss to the Wolves, and a win over the Heat. They're not looking too bad. They're looking all right. Julius Randle's finally back to playing like he was playing last year. He looks pretty good now. He's averaging 19 and 9.9 rebounds. I think they should bump it up to 10 just for the hell of it. But yeah, he's they're second in opponents' points per game right now. So they locking shit up, but they got the same thing going as the Rockets. They 27 in points per game. So niggas not really hitting those shots, but they locking some shit up. So I guess it kind of goes with each other. But yeah, they look really good. Jalen Brunson is out here getting buckets, and RJ Barrett just came back. He's averaging 20.
Right on, man. No, Joe, you about to say something else?
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah.
Okay, bet. No, Knicks are looking good, man. Looking solid. New York basketball. See if they make a move prior to trade deadline, man. It'd be interesting to see if they could add some diversity to their scoring. The defense is there. Now they just got to put the ball through the hoop. Teflon, you got the Thunder and the Magic up next. How are the Thunder doing?
Yeah, they went 6-1 past
Damn.
2 weeks. Yeah, they've been hooping. Actually, both teams went 6-1. They're actually kind of the inverse of each other. One's like the great offense, and one has like great defense. But OKC, yeah, 6-1. They're on a 6-game winning streak before they lost the Sixers on Saturday. Had back-to-back wins over the Warriors. Shot 44% from three during that 2-week span. Had the #1 defensive rating and top 5 offensive rating during that win streak. And SGA's been playing at an MVP level during this stretch, averaging 32 points per game on 55% shooting, 5 rebounds per game, 6 assists per game, with 2.5 steals per game and 1 block. Like, I've not seen too much of him in the MVP talks. Still Embiid. You got Tatum. You got Luka. But SGA, this is the year he's gonna make his breakthrough into that top 3.
I believe it.
Chet and Jay Will both averaging 20 points a game, 57% for Chet, 55% for Jay. While Chet's getting 2 blocks a game. Team's clicking. There's not a team you wanna not the old not Sixers, the old Thunder of the day, or you might lose to them, you might beat them, but they're a serious threat this year. And outside of Josh Giddey being the Pied Piper, team's been balling.
Yeah.
Giddey's fucking up my plans with this team. I wanted him to package him with all them plethora of picks. Go get them a player that fits better, because Josh ain't really fitting with this team with Chet on the floor. But I'm gonna go right into the Orlando Magic. They've also been 6-1. They lost their first game and now currently on a 6-game win streak. They had back-to-back wins over the defending champion Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics.
Crazy.
During that 6-game win streak, they held 3 teams to under 100 points. It's playing pure 90s defense on their team. Had the 5th best defensive rating over the past 2 weeks, 2nd best overall. Team's locked in on playing defense, and it's pure team ball. The entire starting 5 is averaging at least 12 points a game, with Paolo leading with 20 and Franz right behind with 19. Teams bought into the Coach Mosley's mantra of be greedy. no matter how good they're playing, be greedy. You're gonna want more. You get one stop, be greedy, get another one.
Yeah.
Surprising stat I saw was John Isaac. He's played a few games. He's only playing 15 minutes a game, but when he's on the floor, he has a 91 defensive rating with a net rating of plus 24. So when he's on the court, they are roughly 24 points better than the opponent. And it's only in a small sample size him playing 15 minutes. So yeah, both teams, Orlando and OKC, you have League Pass. Watch them. They're a fun watch, especially Orlando, because not one person is gonna go off for 30, but you're gonna get two niggas go for 25, another dude go for 18, and you're gonna see Jalen Suggs just be pure energy off the bench playing defense.
Man, I've been a huge proponent and a huge advocate of the emergence of small market basketball, man, but I was not prepared for the renaissance of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Orlando Magic. Like this is really dope to watch, and it is very reminiscent of that Sacramento Kings run from last year, but also with a lot more youth. And so that just makes it a lot more exciting because these dudes are young. These dudes are just figuring it out still. These dudes are potentially the future of the league. And there's a lot of superstar potential, not just one star and role players, not just one superstar, a star and some mid-level guys, but like both teams have, at least two all-stars, potential all-stars in their starting five.
Yeah. If you told me Orlando would be 11-5 to start the season without Paolo or Franz taking like a leap, because they're both averaging just 20 a game. Like Paolo isn't averaging 26, 27. Like it's strictly just a team effort.
They're locked in. They're playing really good team basketball. That's fucking tight to see, bro. Who was that? Somebody saying something?
No.
All right, up next, no Joe. We got the Philadelphia 76ers. How's the process looking?
They looking nice this week. We went 4-4, going to 11-5. Keep in mind, we only lost one game prior to these last 2 weeks. So we got a win over the Pacers, and then we lost to the Pacers in a back-to-back. A loss to the Celtics, a win over the Hawks, a win over the Nets, a loss to the Cavaliers, a loss to the Wolves, and a win over the Thunder. And that shit was kind of whack, man. Just I don't know what they got going on, but niggas is but they gonna bounce back. As far as everything else is going, they lost their energy coming off the bench with Kelly Oubre getting hit by a car on some Final Destination shit.
I'm supposed to be laughing at that.
Embiid, so far, Embiid is leading the league in scoring right now with 32 points a game. And I still stand on him and Maxey being the top 5, or I say top 2, top 3 duos in the league, with Maxey also averaging 26 points a game. But it was just a pretty bad week, bad couple weeks, I feel like we'll bounce back.
Right on. Do you what do you imagine the common denominator is in those losses? I mean, it feels like kind of a skid, especially considering they were they still among the top teams, but going from one loss to 6, 5. What do you think you can attribute to those 4 losses, if anything?
I ain't gonna lie, I honestly can't tell you, man.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, but we're gonna bounce back and we're gonna go to the finals this year. So that's where I'm at.
Well, you all in on the process.
Yeah, they got me. I ain't gonna lie, they got me.
I ain't mad at it.
Can we talk next episode how Embiid's a foul merchant?
I mean, we knew that already, but yeah, I mean, we could definitely dive into that. We could definitely get to that.
Like, ain't no shame in his game, man.
No, not at all. Them legs gonna get out, nigga. No matter what. My boy is hitting the deck.
No cap. And he's huge, so everybody gotta get out the way.
every other play he's on his back with his legs in the air. Like, bruh.
Like, come
Freak
on,
ass
man.
nigga.
Nigga, it's freak time elsewhere, nigga. Them your opponents, nigga. That's not the team you on. But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at it and like, it looks like, yeah, as far as defensive rating, they've kind of slid towards the bottom. They allowing, somewhere around, 118 points a game or whatnot. So it's probably if I could look deeper into it, but if I'm going to make an educated guess on it, it's probably going to be perimeter defense. You got Joel Embiid in the middle, and then pretty much, I think most of the people on the starting lineup aren't two-way players. DeAnthony Melton, Tyrese Maxey, you know what I'm saying? I can't think of a lot of they starting five, but yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily defensive stoppers outside of the paint, so that might have a lot to do with that.
Yeah. I mean, ugly ass Patrick Beverly come in off the bench, but
They ain't doing nothing but fouling and running around.
basically, yeah. He'll
Yeah.
lock some shit up. I ain't gonna lie. The
Yeah.
nigga come out there and kind of lock some shit up. But other than him, it ain't really no perimeter defense like that.
Yeah. Gabe, let's talk about those Phoenix Suns, man. How the Suns doing? Man, Kevin Durant, bro. What the fuck year is it? God damn.
Yeah, man, that's exactly what when I was prepping for the podcast, I was looking at stats and I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. KD out here playing like the ageless wonder, looking like Kevin Willis. Out here
Right.
playing till he's 45 years old and shit.
Everybody talking about year 20, year 21 Bron, man, but don't sleep on KD, man.
He's having like an MVP season, but man, look, Phoenix looks like they finally found their
Year
stride in the last
16.
couple weeks. 16? Crazy. So yeah, Phoenix finally found their stride. They went 6-1 over the last couple weeks, so they improved to 10-6 overall. They had a huge double overtime win over the Jazz on the 19th, 140-137. They played a soft-ish schedule, but again, you got to lace them up and go beat the teams you're supposed to beat. They beat the Jazz twice, then they beat the Blazers, and of course, they beat Memphis. KD out here playing like an MVP, like you just said, Blue. He's averaging 31, 7, 5.5 assists. I think the craziest thing is he's averaging 1.2 blocks and almost a full steal per game.
Come on, two-way KD.
Yeah, bro, he is their best defensive player. He's averaging, here's the scary thing though, playing almost 37 minutes a game. The other shit that doesn't make sense is he's shooting 52% from the 3-point line. Like, that's like if I'm playing 2K, like 2K16.
Right. It's unheard of. This nigga's
Yeah,
getting
man.
green light every time.
He may not win MVP because I'm not really sure that Phoenix is going to finish in that top 3 or 4 that it's going to require for him to be able to like be in consideration. But if you're looking at pure numbers and like the eye test, like KD doesn't look like he's lost a step. If anything, whatever he has lost, he's gained back in efficiency, which is crazy because he was already stupid ass efficient.
Right.
But they still don't have Bradley Beal. I don't think he's played but like one game. Not surprised there. KD and Book, they fit like a glove. They play perfectly together. The offense is good. The defense is getting better, led by KD, of course. And I know I gave him a lot of shit for it on the last episode, but they're continuing to play through Nurkic in the post, and it's actually helped with their ball movement because he's averaging close to 5 assists a game.
Come on, big man.
By kind of using him as a hub, the same way you use Jokic and Şengün, it allows for like naturally more ball movement and cutting. So, yeah, man, Phoenix is looking good. They're kind of sort of starting to look like the team that everybody wanted them to be when they got Bradley Beal. Hopefully,
shout out
he
to
ends up
KD
playing,
for
man.
turning the clock back, man. I mean,
Yeah, bro.
Years of, season defining injuries, setbacks, change of location. Like you almost forget just how dominant, just how efficient, just how much of a basketball maven this dude is, man. And then you see him in year 16 and he's like, yeah, like you said, turning back the hands of time, man. Like it's really incredible to watch. And I hope that, they are able to shore up enough to where he doesn't have to carry, the offensive burden the entire season, he can get the rest he needs at this point in his career and continue to be as, if not more productive, with a satisfactory amount of rest in between.
Yeah, I love KD, man, and I think and this is a conversation for another day, maybe a whole different pod. But I think like if he didn't play in the same era as Braun, I mean this
Man,
right. I mean he's still probably top 10 when it's all said and done,
right.
maybe. But yeah, crazy.
No, I've had the same conversation, man. The fact that he had to go through Braun really kind of changed his legendary status a little bit. But at the same time, if you know ball, you know what I'm saying, you know that a lack of hardware does not change the greatness that he possesses and that we've known from the giddy up. So good for the Suns, man. They're mortal rivals with my favorite team, but I love good basketball, man, and they're playing great basketball. That part is undeniable. So up next we have the Portland Trailblazers. Rick, how the Trailblazers doing?
All right, so we got Portland Trailblazers, man, 13th in the West. They went 1-6 over the break.
Damn.
To a grand total of 4-12. They broke their 8-game losing streak against the Jazz, and they're shooting 43% field goal percentage from the field.
Fucking terrible.
Yeah, man, them niggas there, bro.
They're not
Still better
making
than
shots,
Memphis.
they're losing games. They're not as bad as Memphis, but they're definitely one of those bottom rung teams who really don't have. It don't feel like they have an upside this season. It don't feel like an upside is coming for them this season. I don't imagine they'll make any big blockbuster deals. I imagine they'll probably just continue to coast through this season. They've sent Scoot to the G League, back to the G League. So, I think he was rehabbing from an injury and then just needed to get his conditioning back up. So he was with their G League affiliate last time I checked. And yeah, man, I mean, it's still early in the season, obviously, and it's too early to call teams that are, that are sniffing around them lottery picks. But, as far as all 30 teams, and especially as far as teams at the very bottom of the list, like, I don't know if Portland has as much or at all any upside, like even compared to like Detroit. Like, Detroit do some tweaking and they can play competitive basketball. Portland, they did all they tweaking during the offseason. They got, dominating. They got, the future in Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons, and with the possibility of one of them being moved. They got Jeremy Grant locked in. Like,
I just never trust teams that go from highly offensive production to then trying to change the team's identity with a blockbuster marquee trade like what they did. It's like you change the ethos of the team, and now
put some mid.
Y'all finna bet the house on DeAndre Ayton?
I don't think so. I think they're accepting defeat. I think even this early on, I think like there are teams that can be winning teams if healthy. There are teams that are awaiting key pieces to return to be competitive. There are teams that are waiting for trades and transactions to better their fare this year. And then there's fucking Portland, and they're not heavily in trade talks. It doesn't seem like a huge destination.
DeAndre Ayton is Greg Oden V2, nigga.
Goddamn. So yeah, looking kind of bleak in Portland, but I'll check in with I got one resident Trailblazers fan on my timeline who is consistently there for all the unsubstantiated hope that comes with being a Trailblazers fan, and I'll check in with her and see what that fan perspective is looking like. Because right now, yeah, from outside looking in, it don't look like they playing for shit.
Jeremy Grant's been playing black hole basketball. The moment that ball touches him, it's going up for a shot.
Right. It ain't going nowhere but towards the rim.
And Scoot's back.
Okay, Scoot is back in the lineup.
Yeah, they got him wearing these 1980s protective goggles so he doesn't touch his eye.
Right, because he's wearing contacts now.
Yeah, he got his eyesight changed.
Yeah. What was out there hooping like me, boy?
With the stigmatism.
Nigga, nothing but lights and colors. Tev, we got the Sacramento Kings up next. How your Kings doing?
They went 5-2 on the week. Yeah, to be honest, outside of Detroit, my teams are actually pretty decent this past week.
Yeah, 5-2 ain't bad.
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox finally came back during against the Cavs.
I can tell you what them two losses were.
It's right there next on my notes. Was on a 6-game winning streak before losing back-to-back games against the Pelicans.
Oh man.
Fox has been averaging 29, 6 assists, and 1.5 steals per game since returning. They had a big win against the Wolves, with Fox hitting 38, 12, and 7.
Damn.
They are top 10 in points per game, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and assists over the past 2 weeks.
Wow. Mike Brown basketball.
Yeah, they are a completely different team when Fox is healthy. Like that glimpse of him being out. They go from an average middle of the league team to back to how they were last year,
right.
The Beam team.
Ordering elite.
Yeah. And Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray have both stepped up this past 2 weeks as well. And Sabonis had mentioned during the post game that he's bought into his role a bit more with Mike Brown's. He got when Fox went out, that adjustment really put into perspective what his role needs to be, and that's with and without Fox.
You love to see it, man. You love to see it. You hate to see one player go down, especially a player of a superstar, all-star caliber, and then the entire identity of the team dismantles, especially when you've got so much talent surrounding him, like Domantas Sabonis, like Keegan Murray, like Malik Monk. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's good to see that nucleus return to the lineup and bring some, bring that chemistry back. But also, like, yeah, guys got to buy in and be willing to step up and, maybe even reshift their offensive identity, in the absence of those stars, because you can't predict injuries, right? You can't predict somebody going down with a bum ankle or a bad landing. So it's good that they're getting these growing pains out the way now, because there's no room for their Cinderella story. Like everybody scouted, the Kings. Everybody saw,
They're not sneaking up on nobody.
They're not sneaking up on nobody. You can see the beam a mile away. You know what I'm saying? And they waiting to light that motherfucker. So it's good to see them, again, small team, limited success, huge upside, but not a lot of experience. So it's good to see them go through those growing pains and respond to them positively. I love that.
Yeah. We'd love to see Zach LaVine on this team.
Come on, man.
Yeah. And those 2 losses with the Pelicans, I'm telling you, there's real voodoo on the Pelicans courts. Some of the wins y'all got this year is ridiculous.
Hey, man, I'm trying to tell you, man, 50, 60 points a game out of 2 niggas and some defenses. It could be some problems, man. It's going to be some problems, I'm trying to tell you. Pelicans wear no weight. Let's jump into the Spurs. San Antonio Spurs. Good old Wemby land. No Joe. How is the 3rd generation of Greg Popovich dynasties faring out?
Well, these niggas are 0-7. They went 0-7. It's they're 3
I set you up for that. I was throwing you the lob for that, man. You really, what I'm saying? Like
yeah, they're 0-7 for sure. They're 3-13 for the season. They lost to the Heat, and then they lost to the Thunder, and then they lost to the Kings. Then they lost to the sorry-ass Grizzlies. Then they lost back-to-back to the Clippers, and then they lost to the Warriors. Man, I don't want to say these niggas suck, because no NBA team suck. They're in the NBA. But these niggas aren't that good together. They're just, I think they're just very inexperienced. They need a veteran or something. Like who is their veteran? Like Chetty Osman or something? It's not really, they don't really got no like legit veteran. And then that they're 28 in opponents' points per game. Niggas come over there and they score 122 points. Niggas go over there and they're like playing on rookie mode. This shit is too easy. I, I don't know, man. I don't know what they got up their sleeve, or if they have anything up their sleeve, or if they have any plans for the future, or if they're just kind of just banking on this nigga Wemby to be just a bona fide star. But I don't think they're gonna look like a good team for probably like the next 2 or 3 years.
I think they need a Tony Parker. I think they need like a real point guard. And yeah, I mean, still early. Nobody.
How y'all can't throw an entry pass to a 7'6" nigga? Just chunk that bitch in the air.
The fact that opponents are putting up 128 points against a 7'6" nigga is crazy too. But again, like, you know, as mutated as this man's frame is, like, he can't be everywhere all at once, you know. And
he really can though.
Playing Sochan at point guard is malpractice.
It's crazy, ain't it?
They're a -9 when he plays point and a +12 when Trey Jones is playing point.
And Trey Jones is obviously the better point of the two. Like, what is the purpose? Is it switchability? Is it defense? Like, what is?
I think Pop just bullshitting. I think
they trying to get
trying shit.
Trying to get that top pick.
Yeah,
basically.
Man. Because there's a lot of youth in San Antonio, right? Like, you know, you could shore up that youth with more draft picks, with bottoming out and getting, you know what I'm saying, a second, third, fourth pick, you know what I'm saying, the lottery next year, or you could, decommit from the development, you know, ship a package off to a competing team and get a vet. I think like a Klay Thompson or something like that would be, you know what I'm saying, like I mentioned earlier, like a good fit for him. But
what you call it, Vassell and Keldon probably like you ship them off, you might get something. You know what I'm saying?
I would say either or, because you definitely don't want to sell the house.
Yeah, you ship off Keldon, you keep the sell.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that would be a win for both teams in Golden State's and Golden State's outlook. You know, you get some youth, you get some somebody who plays a solid brand of the Greg Popovich family tree of basketball. You know what I'm saying? Going into the Steve Kerr system. And yeah, they have an opportunity to get a veteran who can add some scoring and some championship experience, you know, and show these boys the way. So, you know,
do you think that Popovich way is like that'll work currently? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, you think about all the coaches that came from the Greg Popovich, you know, family tree, right? Obviously, like out the gate, you're looking at Steve Kerr, you're looking at Mike Brown. There should be a graph or some shit online, like all the coaches that came out of that camp, basically. And yeah, like a huge chunk of like, you know, reasonably successful coaches in the NBA have come from that, you know, organizational family tree. So, you know, I mean, it's tried and tested. It might not be worth a damn, you know what I'm saying, in 2023, specifically the Greg Popovich side of it, but, you know, something they doing, development, you know, discipline, you know, playing, you know, team basketball, right? That's something that, you know, his lineage sort of carries on into whatever franchise, you know, that next staff member, you know, gets employed at. So, I mean, just looking at Golden State and Sacramento as examples, like, you know, they come from that family tree. And I mean, I think the proof is in, you know, the level of success they've seen and, you know, how they've been able to turn around their franchises.
Yeah.
Up next, Gabe, we got the Toronto Raptors and the Utah Jazz. I'll let you go back to back on this one.
Yeah, man. So the Raptors are continuing to be, I guess, like the most average franchise in the league. They went 4-3 over the last couple of weeks, brings them to a dead even 8-8 overall. They had a barn burner against the Pacers, of course, on the 22nd, 132-131. Pascal had 36 in that game. They also set a franchise record 44 assists on the 19th against in a win versus Detroit, of all places, of course.
Of course. Who they break this record against?
Yeah, that's the place to go break records is Detroit. So Detroit fans, if you're out there, sorry. Yeah, I mean, this team is playing up and down. Scotty is still amazing, averaging 19, 9, with 5 assists. He's averaging 1.3 blocks and steals. And so I don't think it'll happen this year because the team's not good enough for him to get any real recognition. But I could very much or very well see like a DPLY in his future for sure. So I think my only real like ask of this team is to pick a direction. Like either go all in and make a trade for like a Zach LaVine or blow the shit up. Because like I've been saying since the beginning of the year, this like, you know, playing for 500 basketball, like it's not going to get you nowhere. So, but whatever. Toronto is going to keep on doing that. Shout out Canada. You got a decent team, like literally a decent team. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
They could be more, right? They could be so much more if they decide.
Or so much less, and it might make them better later.
Yeah.
But we'll see, man. But moving into the Jazz, Jazz aren't doing much better. Jazz, they went, let me see, they went 1-4 over the last couple of weeks, so they're 5-11 overall. Man, a telltale sign of a young team. This team is 1-7 currently on the road. So if you can't win on the road, you're not going to win, period. And that's like every young team goes through that. And so they're playing like a young team right now. Lowry, of course, is averaging 24 and 9. He's averaging a 1 block and 1 steal a game. What I've been saying the last few weeks about this team is they have that lack of point guard play, right? Well, I think they might have found their point guard of the future. They got a rookie named Keontae George. Dude is averaging 9 points, 9.5 points, and 5.3 assists per game in only 25 minutes. So if he got starter minutes, he would probably average somewhere around 12 or 13 and close to 9 or 10 assists. He's had 7 assists 5 times already, and he's had 11 assists twice. So I think it's just about getting him some steady PT. He's a scrappy defender at that. So I think they have, like I've been saying, they have some solid young pieces. There's not a lot of expectations there, so they have the flexibility to experiment much like San Antonio does. And so as long as they continue to give the guys who need a shot and are worth giving PT to, as long as they give them time, they'll continue to develop. So for me, that's Keontae George, that's Walker Kessler, that's Akbaji. I would say trade Jordan Clarkson, see what you can get. But yeah, man, Jazz is Jazz, and I'm right there with you, Blue. They got to change their name because ain't shit happening Jazz-wise in Utah.
Hell no. And I'm all aboard the Keontae George train if it gets the ball out of Colin Sexton's hands because
yeah, he's not fun to watch.
He's not fun to watch, bro. He's not fun to watch. He
plays like an angry bulldog who can't shoot.
Bro, it's crazy. Somebody put a leash on this man. Send him to fucking goddamn Charlotte. Please. All right. Last but not least.
And I got you, bro. These niggas fucking terrible, nigga. They went 0-8. 2-14 for the year. 15th in the East.
Go ahead and wrap this shit up, nigga.
They're on a 9-game losing streak. Might lose the next 5.
Oh,
but
man.
The only upside is they 6th in assists per game. So at least they, spreading the ball around with they bitch ass. Fuck them niggas.
Oh my God. Crazy.
It's like bad basketball is so infuriating, bro. Like you expect so much more from these niggas, man. Where's the pool party?
Nigga, we were all rooting for you, nigga.
All rooting for you. Pool and cool.
For real, I did really want to see him get to like 25. I wanted him to have his own team. Dude is averaging 15 points a game as the number 1 option.
Oh, y'all got sections in the arena, bro. I got velvet rope in the arena. I got bottle service in the arena.
At this point, they should sponsor us for plugging that so hard. Like they should just bring us to the section.
Oh, God.
So we can see this train wreck up close, nigga. So we can feel the disappointment. We can feel the failed potential in the Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma experiment.
It's like Kuzma. It's like he want to be Ben Simmons, and I don't know why.
Man, I don't get it, man. Delusions of grandeur. It's a lot of it running rampant, man. And honestly, Kyle Kuzma had his best season in the arms of LeBron James. Like Kyle Kuzma has not been that guy since leaving the shadow of LeBron James, and I don't know that him or Jordan Poole are ready to run their own team. And what's happening in Washington, what's happening in DC right now is a perfect example of that.
Washington, where basketball goes to die.
Damn.
I thought that was Detroit.
At least Detroit has like some talent. They have talent.
When's the last time the Washington Wizards got a lottery pick?
Gilbert Arenas.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the basketball gods hate Washington, D.C. All right, man, and that completes our 30-team rundown. It's our hope that even Washington Wizards fans were able to take something meaningful away from this segment. Hey, you may be last in the league and even last on the list, but you're first in our hearts. And that concludes this week's War in the Paint double-header episode, consolidating weeks 4 and 5. I'd like to extend my gratitude to everyone who tuned in and stayed tuned in. You can find us all over the net at simply War in the Paint. Don't forget to hit the follow and subscribe button on social media and wherever you get your podcast. Also, a 5-star review with a little commentary is one of our favorite things. So if you love us for real, you want to keep this thing going and growing, do us a small solid. Follow, subscribe, review, comment, share. 5 steps. On behalf of my fellow warlords, Gabe, Teflon, Nojo, and Ricky Blue, and for the love of the game, I'm Rodney Blue, and there's a war going on outside nobody's safe from. And free Palestine. This has been War in the Paint, episode, 4 or 5? Week 4 or 5 of War in the Paint. And we'll catch y'all on the next one.